Maybe some have seen this. Maybe some have not. Maybe they found it on the YouTube. Maybe it's YouTube. It says studio for me, and nothing happened. I won't do any more of those there. It actually wasn't that. It was returning something to a friend that I owed him from the other day. But I won't. I got to pick up my car because I didn't feel like going back right now. So we went for a drive. I smoked a joint. He didn't. He was driving. That settles any kind of dispute because Pat is just pushing his weight around, and he doesn't need to because maybe he's under investigation. Maybe he isn't, and he's scared. And for once in his life, Pat's scared because I was on the motorhome. I was on the motorhome, Ninth and Sherbrooke, and maybe he was too when he was young, like a teenager. And they had him under trial and test, and I made it through my teenage years. I had my test against the 80-year-olds then. And I stood in revolt against the 70-year-olds when I was in my 2010s. And I have my test. I'm getting good with the 80 plus club. And maybe I am, maybe I ain't. Some men are business owners and they don't need to work, or some men are just patrons of a restaurant or a store. And the car is in my name, and it is. And and it's on my Facebook. When it's on my Facebook, my account I made on there. And that's me, Cody Hayden. And what's happening now is Chris Gregoire was hanging around for the club, or is he a nomad? I don't know. I don't talk business with him, but he did take a pinch like a man in 2007. And he took a pinch like a man because I didn't end up in jail. And he could have thrown me under the bus, and he didn't because he's a good man. And that's long over. Those charges are gone. And Christie's himself, and he's got dark facial hair, kind of like me. I have blonde hair and black facial hair. It's rare because he's dark-haired. He's brown-haired or black-haired. I'm blonde, and this turns dark. It's rare. It is. It's just how I've always been. And my old man was born on August 8th. No, on the 8th month of the 18th day. But he's not the son. He's not Satan or the son of Satan. He's not. He's actually a pretty good man. I don't know what he was like before I was born, but I think I was born and he kind of straightened him out. He's been good since. And there's something burned down in Quesnel outside of town that I don't know about. Grandpa Wayne probably talked about it in the car, and I got a good memory. And Grandpa Wayne and Grandma Denise picked me up. They also took me for a trip to Prince George. Then I got a water gun and all that. It's me. And if he wants something to be true that isn't true, because if he's losing his fucking head, because maybe he's under investigation, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe you're just a neighbor. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. Hot, cold, cold, hot. Because not everything in this world is HAMC, and it isn't. It's cold or it's hot. It's hot or it's cold. So when you teach your grandson, if you ever get to see him, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe teach him the right way. Because Sean was raised a certain way, and he's a certain man. And he's a good man. And other than one thing, it's just a funny thing that happened between me and him. He didn't like it at the second, but I didn't. And nothing worked out in that tent anyway. So, and well, that's a long time ago. And only certain people would figure that out. And only girls gossip. And guess what? Girls shouldn't be gossiping about organized crime right now because they may be under investigation. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And maybe someone's under investigation in Hawaii. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe I'm just an excellent player of psychological warfare. And maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And one thing you know for sure is I'm not a Hells Angel and I'm not a nomad. And that's a fact. And because I was born in Kamloops, British Columbia on the 8th month, (2/2, 1989, 08. My SIN number is 742-713-357. And my driver's license number is 8088-324. And somebody just stole my wallet and gave me fake ID. It still works for me, though. So, well, everybody in the world that knows me as Cody Hayden, would Chris G stop telling himself he's Cody Hayden? Because you're Chris Gregoire, Chris. Your old man might have to come from Kelowna and grab you and give you a fucking shit kicking. Because you're scared of him. Because he's your real dad. I've never met Mr. Gregoire. He's, as far as I remember being told by Chris, is that he's a Canadian Armed Forces. And when Ron and Iffy are done with Chris Gregoire, when they're done using him, and when they don't want to pretend like they didn't just try and do something because they pressured one man into doing something he didn't want to do, or it's just a random occurrence. Because Ron wants to do something like all these white guys have been doing lately. They promise one thing and then they don't do it, and they don't do anything. They're all scared of Bacon in Hawaii. They're all scared of him because they're all scared of the traditional Italian mafia. And he did nothing wrong. And maybe it wasn't a drug deal, and still he did nothing wrong. He took a video and that's it. Big deal. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal for Ron. Maybe because Ron didn't have anything to do with it, or maybe that years and years of brainwash is coming out of the system, and they never thought I'd do the one thing I could always do: talk about it on camera, and it's live for everyone to see. And I have the one that says 0, and this is the same kind of hoodie like from my CPIC, but I look like a confused child there, and I'm good with pictures when I need to be. And could I be any more proud of the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, whose Facebook is this on? And Chris probably can't stand her, or he doesn't mind her, or he's not of the generation from the baby boomers that she was hardest on, and the guys that got away. Maybe there's an investigation. Maybe you guys lost the friendly police force that you thought you had. Maybe they weren't that friendly in the first place. Who knows? It's a stark reality that it's not cloudy out, and frankly, it's none of my business. So I know things that people don't know, and I'm me. I'm Cody Hayden. Mr. Weatherhead was my teacher in school, and me and Chris Greyward did get into a fight at that school. I got to go swimming. He didn't. I'm sorry, Chris, but you did start it. Mr. Gallowitz would say, that's probably what he would say if he's still here. I hope he is. Mr. Denby, he knew me from school. Mr. Weatherhead has passed away, and he left a message on the bench at the school, and that's not where my inspiration for a street gang came from. It didn't come from anywhere other than it's just a saying, and it doesn't allow me to use guns, so I gotta outthink my enemies. And this is a heavily armed type of industry. It's called gang warfare, and I'm in a street gang, so technically I'm not part of it. But they want to regulate everybody who calls Tony, Andy, and Al. You've lost your power over me. You never fucking had it. So if you guys are watching at home, go fuck yourselves. Because one man didn't do anything wrong, and another man, I know something about him that nobody knows. Because these guys do things in secret, and you guys aren't just getting me. You guys aren't doing what you want to do. And he's squaring up. He's squaring up in New York. He is squaring up in New York. He is. He's lying on the phone. He's just lying. Whatever he's saying on video call, he's lying. He's a fucking liar. I'm on camera all day, every day, so how can I be lying? I don't lie about important things. I'm Cody Hayden. Jean Edward. I said that at my wedding. It was my wedding just because it was in another man's house. Well, it was Auntie Ellie's house too. And there's a Mona Lisa on the wall. That's not a real one, obviously. And I drew a picture in preschool. I drew it of a Nazi parade, and I wanted to get the Queen's attention, and I got it. And she knew of me before she passed. And she knows of me still and from heaven. So when you guys want to get done pretending to be me, Adam and Val Sincevich, he's not a trucker. He owns a flooring company. That's his cover for whoever he is. Good for him. Your phone is just being spied on too. Maybe it is. Mine's brand new and they haven't cloned it, so we're making progress. With them not wanting to fucking work with me, well then don't work with me. Just remember one thing. The people's money in Kamloops isn't Kamloops chapters. You don't own this city. So when people earn money from a place called a job, they can spend it where they want. Just because you guys think you're doing it like the mafia out here, you ain't the fucking mafia. You're bikers, so get in line. Because if you guys have to take a fall, guess who it's for? Traditional Italians, but they have nothing to do with it. Because you guys are on their own. You guys have been on your own out here, so you guys got to take your own fall. So you guys wanted to get away from them. You're away from them. You guys didn't want to be part of their area of expertise. You guys defected on Ralph in the 80s. Well, now you're dealing with the repercussions of it. I'm an organized crime historian at best, and I'm a Cody Hayden, and I'm the only one. And that car is from when I was 17, and I bought it 17 from a dealership, a body shop, and it was under a carport. I mentioned the Graham Porter, who me and him aren't friends anymore. His mother's a saint. He just thinks I'm a fucking idiot, if he's even found this. If he's found this or not, he knows who I am, but he would probably say the opposite for a bag of money. And, well, there's only one Cody Hayden, and I don't know what Mr. Greywire looks like out of clone. I have no idea. And Chris doesn't look like me. He looks like Chris, and he's got dark facial hair, and he's got, well, my hair is a little dark, but it is blonde. And I'm Cody Hayden, because I'm not lying. And what's going on now is if he's brainwashed, not working, because he's not Lord of the land. He's not King Charles. King Charles is king. And as far as I know, I'm the only one doing content creation 24 hours a day. So it was my idea too. And they want to get in on the money. Well, you're already in the data. You guys have souped up the towers around here for one reason. Thinking that what? You think that Bacon Sr. there has some sort of telekinetic bond with me? There is none. Not a fucking chance. I don't do Soviet era garbage that fucking Valdick practiced. Well, he's being spied on by them too. So I probably bet you are, because they're looking at you like you're a target too. Because you're not from here. You're not from North America. And you're trying to get something off the ground, or your son is, secretly. And Adam's like a devout communist, or is he a devout Nazi? Or is he like his dad? Because Valdick taught him how to be a Nazi. And, well, they never shared that with me. Because I look a little olive skinned, and it comes out of me. Because my grandma Denise Kavanaugh, and Wayne Astle were in love. And Wayne Astle must have been a perfect player of love, because 1 month later, exactly, he changed the will probably on the phone. And I bet he did. That's what I heard from the family. Just my family, my relatives. And my mother doesn't get any of the money either. But my dad is there, and he's making sure the food and the bills are paid. And if he can't decide if he wants me dead or wants me alive, but he does not getting in on this. There's no money from it for me. It's zero here, and it's a creative freedom I get. And it's not getting too dangerous for me. Not at all. It's not even close. Because that was no big deal. It's not a big deal. I got to go pick up my car when I get around to it. So there's a timer on the wall. It's not going to hurt anything. There's nothing in there. So I don't pack guns. I never have. That's why I'm a good player of dope dealer. I don't pack guns. I never have. And it's a highly dangerous business, drug dealing. That's why most people don't do it. I've done it well for 21 years. But the thing is, Tony, Andy, and Al did it secretly. They secretly didn't need to protect me worth a shit, because I had a gun pulled on me, and it was a loaded gun to my head. Where were they then? They didn't see that one coming, did they? And I told the guy, when he tried to get the keys to that car, I told him to fuck off. But the businessman did the right thing, if he thinks that's what it was, and he's right to video record it. But there was no drug deal. I literally had to repay him for something that I owed him. And, well, there's no problem. And Pat Haynes is losing his fucking head, because Pat Haynes is trying to push guys around when he shouldn't. And that's what he's been doing his whole career. And he was on that motorhome too. And it had a lien on it. And I never jacked it up with the Jackal. And the Jackal's a character from a movie. And I would never do something like that. But that's Bruce Willis, and that's an actor. And this is a pretty popular stream. Who knows who's watching? I got a 0 here. Probably 1 for everybody else. And that's 0-1 for binary code. And that's something called Bill's invention with his partner. And they had they're part of a corporation. He created something, and computers are awesome. And this is an HP screen. You guys know it from the other day. And well, simply put, it's the green screen behind me, because that's what it is. And no one knows my location, because nobody does. And they can't stand it that they're not going to be behind me, maybe becoming a star on the YouTube. And maybe I do become a star after they get smacked in the fucking lips. The Kamloops chapter, not any business owners, because they're all probably sick of him. And Pat Haynes is pushing around his weight again, and he always does. That's what he does. And he doesn't want to stay out of business. And so I guess Pat Haynes runs Kamloops too. Does Pat Haynes run Vernon too? He doesn't run me. He doesn't run me anywhere. I don't like Pat Haynes, and that's well known. Everybody fucking knows it. Do I look like a drug addict? Nope, but I'm a known, and that's fine. And I got a pass that I don't need from the Kamloops chapter. They're trying to push the weight around, and I knew that guy, Dennis. I don't know his middle name or his last name. I knew the whole time he was, and he's just trying to help me out. When it was good, and he probably was. And Pat Haynes is getting greedy, and he's getting weak at the knees, because Dennis has got nothing to worry about. He knows me. And I'm a guy that can say, you got nothing to worry about, even though that's fine. And you're into the self-taught student of espionage too. Sure. And I am too, but I did it excellently well. And you have nothing to worry about, because you've been good to me. And you are a working man, and that's it. And I know that. And we had a nice little thing going on when we did. And they won't want it to go on anymore, because they're just jealous, the baby boomers. And they're fucking weak at the knees, because you have nothing to worry about. And I understand that you have nothing to worry about. And I know a good act from a bad act. And some people haven't. And their hackers aren't so busy right now, because I'm literally the hack in the hackers, because I don't hack. I tried learning about it once. Everybody knows me in Kamloops. Knows of me. They all know of Cody Hayden. And there's been Chris G around pretending to be me, but making fun of me and being ignorant. So me and him technically aren't friends. But he's a certain somebody. He worked in Burnaby. I picked him up once, not as a friend, because we're not brothers. He's got a different dad than mine, okay? He's not a bro. He isn't. You should know that. And he's got to hear the hard truth. Because you're your son, you're your father's son, and he knows exactly who you are. Because he raised you before I met you. I met you in elementary school, probably around the time Kelly got with Ron. And was Kelly used to live in Kelowna? They must have split up, you and your real father, because Kelly knows who I am, and Kelly knows who I am, and Kelly knows who Chris is, and there's a big difference between real and not real. And I didn't sign up with the Hells Angels. I'm looking more like a bureaucrat every day, but I'm not a bureaucrat. And someone I care for desperately gave me this. Well, she gave me the bag with that in it. I don't even think it's real. Maybe it is real. The diamonds, they look real, but they can get faked, so they're pretty real. And that's a paperclip holding it there. I haven't fixed it properly. I want to get into something called making jewelry. And I pulled a business license, me personally. And I got some crafts I could sell for my mother. But they're busy doing what they do in the day. They live out of town. And maybe a move to town would be good for them. Maybe they could get more into having friends and not stuck out there for the winter. And maybe that would be good. I can't do it for them. And maybe they're just tired of living out there. They don't want to sell the place. Maybe you rent something, or I rent it, and I'll give you the spare room for free. But I was just rolling in the business, and I was February to February. I wasn't caught, and I think the locals did have a look, or someone did have a look, and I wasn't a major supplier, and I'm not anymore because I wasn't, and I used to be when I was a teenager, and well, that reputation holds weight because the Kamloops chapter is big, and there's lots of them, and who knows which one? I don't know, but that's somebody's strategy out of Hawaii, and he just puts colors on anybody, and they don't actually. I bet I don't know for sure because I read in the book once they actually had to kill to get into the ranks. I don't think they have to anymore. That's just a strategy he went with, and I don't know who's who, and I don't want to get rid of them altogether because they're American, and they're probably want to. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to be thinned out. And maybe they are at war in southern British Columbia. Maybe it's a philosophical battle, and it's Tony and Andy and Al. Maybe they got all going on the phone, and maybe my dad had to talk him down from a ledge, because maybe my dad doesn't even want to talk to him and doesn't take the phone call anymore, because maybe they ripped off me and my dad technically. Because why the fuck would I have to? Why would anybody have to look out for me if my dad could just do it by being dad? I always knew dad was in my corner as a dad. I never hung around with my dad. I never prospected through my dad. It never fucking happened. Okay, and I got respect for the Hells Angels, but I was the guy that shit talked to him for 20 years in secret because the Kamloops chapter didn't get it. I shit talked to him because I didn't want to be him, and I didn't want to be a patch licker either. Ralph Barger would understand that, and Mr. What's his nuts from? I don't know his first or middle name, but he's the man without a flag from Hawaii, and I'm gonna stop saying that name because I just don't like him, and he's trying to do all those sorts of things and ruin other people. And is he responsible for burning down the bridge? Because I'm not. I was sleeping on camera the whole time. Fuck. And they just don't want me to. They don't want me to be a drug dealer. Well, I'm not going to work because I worked 21 years on something. And you think I'm getting cold feet now? You fucking pesky fucking Hells Angels. And it's not the business owner. He's done nothing wrong. And the New York is going to. It's like saying, and the New York Stock Exchange isn't. People out there don't have any money invested in BC. They probably own lots of properties. Maybe they buy them on the phone too. Maybe they're not allowed to. Maybe the BC Hells Angels said nobody in New York can invest money in Kamloops or in Canada. That would be bullshit because they probably have lots of money invested. It's like saying America doesn't have any money invested. Finning Cat just built a brand new thing, I watched it being built because I was working at Sun Rivers when it was being built. I was up there for 3 weeks. It didn't work out for me. And my mother, she threw me in Gaglardy floor 6. That's what they call it when you're in there. Floor 6 on the hospital. It's a psych ring. It's a mental health unit or whatever. And I was on both sides and I was fine the whole time. My mother she wanted to throw me away because she wouldn't give me, get this, she wouldn't give me her, well, she wouldn't, I asked her to borrow her car because my car was out of gas. And she wouldn't lend me her car to go get gas for my car. So nothing really happened, and I was fine really. But something else happened. But I got So someone suspected that I was being drugged from that house, and they were drugging me because that's Crystal Ann and Sherry's play. Because Sherry is being brainwashed by Pat Haynes, and that brainwashes snap out of it. Pat Haynes is feared, and he is the murderer, and you don't have to fear him because I protect you guys even when I'm not there. Sherry, if you're having a telekinetic affair, it's over, okay? Pat Haynes can fuck off and go do something else because you don't have anybody scared, Pat. Because I was down at the river by your blue house, and you're pulling water in illegally, and the First Nations band scared of you, and there's that road. And I was there at a different house for the stuff I usually do, and I just noticed it. I don't know what happened. I think I heard about a murder suicide, and that's at somebody's old house. And I think because the motorhome's moved there, and he's got a new window in the back, unless it's a different motorhome, because he just moved it off one property and onto First Nations land. And that's him saying sorry for how Montana was treated, or he just sent a message with Montana because he don't like First Nations. And he never did, and he's just a racist, and he's vile, and he's no good. And that's that man without a flag in somewhere in the Pacific. It's not Midway, and Midway is Midway, and you don't own everything on the other end of it there, pal. You're just one organized criminal, and that's all you are. Even though you got all legit, well, that's your problem, pal. I know a man that is all legit, and he is all legit, and he's just tired of it, and there's no problem. I understand. I'm not mad at him at all. Or I'm not mad at this man named Dennis. That could be maybe not even be his real name. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. He did nothing wrong either. It's Pat Haynes throwing his weight around again. And Pat Haynes, I don't know his middle name, so there's no legal action he can take. But I know one thing. I got permission for somebody to use somebody's name online, and no lawyers would come after me. And that's Ralph Barger. He probably just wanted me to tell my story, and I'm telling my story. It's my life and times as a small-scale drug dealer in Kamloops, British Columbia. I went small scale. Chris hasn't been caught for anything, and maybe he hasn't been. I don't know what his record is. I don't know. I forgive him for the breaking anything. Maybe he went to court too. Maybe he did. And it was you getting us caught because you said something jumping over a fence, and that's why you got caught, because you went one way and I went the right way because you caught us caught. So you can't be mad at me for that because you did get us caught. I got caught through forensic, through fingerprints, and I did do 2 years probation for that. And I did. So I was a teenage mastermind. We could hear more about that. I can do that too. It doesn't make me a fucking miracle worker? No. But I did save a young woman and her father from Thompson Rivers, where the two rivers meet, South and North Thompson. I did do that. And they're probably trying to say that Jason Robertson did that, like the man from Salmon Army. Yeah, that was me. Only me did that. And a woman actually went in first to save the young man. Her name I didn't catch, but we put him in the recovery position. He threw up water, and he saved his 2 kids because he held on to them. I got there just in time because, that was, I almost lost, I was a close call because he was, I told him just to be what you would say in water dead weight, and he went dead weight, and I was able to swim him and his daughter into the shoreline because he was fighting too, and he was drowning. So we made her in, and that was me. And that was me, and that was a rush. And it was Rush saving him, and he's fine now, I'm sure, unless something happened to him. But that was me, and people don't remember that. That was on Canada Day, and my ex-wife was there with me, and I did divorce online 2021, so it went to a company, and they maybe didn't file it into the courthouse because I didn't get the email back, or maybe they just didn't. Maybe it was hacked. It was a real divorce company, so it's a real divorce. I just got to figure out which one. I divorced, and at this point, you'd just be inheriting debt because there's no money. And I still unracked out cards from then. We racked out cards together, and I have statements to prove it because I'm in debt, $80,000. I have student loans out, and I'm racked right up. And guess what? Somebody like Randy, he's got no debt. He's rich, and he's a secret kind of, even though he's been seen with it on, he's been seen with the Kamloops Rocker because they never showed me a Kamloops Rocker once. They know one thing: I ain't a Hell's Angel. And I'll never fucking be one. Not in a million years. You guys signed up for somebody, and you guys are all going to turn coat on him, or you're going to be good, loyal, and you're going to do that because he's been loyal to that, and he's not that. So you guys are all fucking flaking out probably and doing things that he doesn't want you to do, or he's got some Ivy League people that helping him out with strategy, and he shouldn't. Because everybody just needs to sit tight. And who knows if there's investigation or not? I don't fucking know. Jesus Christ. And even if there was one, even if this is what I know from common fucking sense. Even if the RCMP were investigating, they know one thing: I'm not a Hell's Angel, and that's a fact because they don't know who is and who isn't, and that's a secret. That's the way he did it. And when Randy did, I seen him last at Canadian Tire, and he grabbed my chain like this, and he said, "Oh, you got money, eh?" And he was already minted. And I was a teenager driving to Monte Carlo. You made me feel like a punk. Why'd you do that? Then you invited me to the lake. Why would I want to go? It was a test. Why I didn't want to be tested by you. I don't want to be part of your ranks. Or he has his own chapter 2. Is that how they're doing it? Maybe they all get their own chapter and they have control Hells Angels all over the world. Maybe they do. I don't fucking know how they do it in Kamloops, but this isn't your new Mecca. Because it's not. And Rob Parcher would have maybe wanted you all here to hear something. I'm not a Hells Angel and I never will be. Because they're known to be, some are known to be racist, other ones aren't. Some use racism as a tool, others don't. Racism is systemic. Some is worse in some places than others. It's just natural. Everybody's a little bit racist, maybe. Some people aren't. Some people are. Some people know I practice when I rap, sometimes when I'm walking, and other people don't know that. I like rapping. I don't do it on camera. I had a couple of battle raps with G-Dub, and people know I can rap. G-Dub was my friend as well, and Chris Gregoire. I called you to go to that funeral with you, and you didn't call me back. It was an insult towards me, and you probably shit-talking me there. With others, they were allowed to shit-talk me because I didn't show up. But I was busy making sure that G-Dub was avenged, and I didn't avenge him. Nobody did because he overdosed. And so did Josh Patton, and it's a little suspicious, but maybe Josh was, upset about Garrett, and well, it's still in my mind, so I'll never know. I wasn't in Calgary when it happened. That's a fact. And, I don't know. Just don't know what happened. This is the entertainment sector at the same time, and it's not all fact and fiction. So I've got a 0 on my screen, and other people have a 1 probably. And maybe Johnny Law hasn't found it yet on YouTube. Maybe he hasn't. Johnny Law is in prison, and if they see it, it's probably through prison phones and not on television, obviously. And who knows who sees it? And if they don't see it, who knows? I know Ashley's trying to get me in shit with serious guys over something that wasn't even hers. And she doesn't keep a camera in the back because that's where they all come in, and they wouldn't want to be on camera. So I don't know, Ashley, what are you trying to get me in shit for? Because you're sleeping with Mason? Well, that's on you. I can tell when two people are sleeping with each other. You're like a sister from another mister. You're not actually my sister. And maybe she's watching, maybe she's not, but I protect her with my life. Because I do. I don't turn coat on people. So even if she's sleeping with Mason or not, and Mark went to jail and complained about it, Mark shouldn't, because there's no reason to complain. And maybe they are just like brother and sister, those two. Maybe they are. Maybe there's no unfair. Maybe Mark does good time this time other than bad time. Because last time you were in jail, you were awful to her. Awful to her. I witnessed it. And when I was just hanging out, and that's different. I've never hung around once in my fucking life. You can't hang around with dad, period. So, and I'm not a nomad, and I'm not. I never fucking will be. I don't want anything to do with their ranks. So if there's a grenade on the ground, if he can fall on it themselves, because I'm 35 and you guys are 65 and you guys aren't my same age, you guys are tired. You guys are tired from whatever you guys are tired from. And Craig's blind, and he can maybe hear this, maybe he can't, maybe he hasn't found it yet. Maybe I give somebody 50 cents out of respect because he's on the North Shore. Maybe I give someone 50 cents out of respect because he's my dad. Maybe. And you guys don't like it because one group of men they have more money than they can dream of. And they're so fucking powerful. They're taking the oxygen away from certain people. And then they want things to be their way, and they don't get it their fucking way. Because maybe I'm an independent drug dealer. Maybe I am, and I am fucking independent. Because if you're above 18 and you're a male, you're kind of out on your own in this world. Unless somebody else's 2 hands hold your dick when you take a piss. I use 1 hand myself. So, and I have no known problems with any RCMP because I'm polite and I know how to just be polite. And I'm polite at all times. And I was a little upset when I was arrested on somebody's property, or is it his property? There's no way Pascal bought that land because he would be in with Preston. Or he's just Preston's paying the rent. And why is there 2 empty suites in the basement? Because you guys don't need the money. And Preston, you moved in Pascal, and he's just a yes man for you, and you tell him what to do completely. And Pascal knows one thing: my management style is better than his, because you're in with him now because you want to be suave undercover drug dealer, and you kept a place downtown for disability the whole time, or that's not your car. You didn't keep that place. That's not yours. Okay, well then you're keeping a place on disability and you're never there. I was there once and somebody ratted me out, and that was somebody else from the coast, somebody from Surrey putting somebody's career at jeopardy, and that wasn't me putting a career at jeopardy. No, it wasn't. So there's bad blood sewn up, and I can't say who that person was because it was a good thing, because you were forced to do it, and somebody thought he was being smart, and he's around a certain people's generation, and they might not like him either, and maybe they don't, and maybe he's got heat, maybe he does. And there's a from the movie Heat. It's called Watch It Again. I've seen it 10 times, being bored, sitting around, playing independent drug dealer, and I am independent drug dealer, and it gets boring when you have it figured out. So now I do something like talk online and content creation. If you stop talking, guess what? You lose the audience. My ears are going pink because I don't breathe when I talk, because I can't express how little I care about the Hells Angels in British Columbia, because they defected, and they're defectors. Not all of them. Some of them truly believe Ralph Barger and truly believe that he was Hells Angel. I think he was, because he created something I think was an FU to the American government at the time. But I think he was fighting the Soviets off in his life, and maybe he was, and he set it up to fight off the Soviets, and the Cold War ended in '91. Maybe they helped stop the Soviets, and maybe Valdek's the last one. He was the last one flying solo out here. And maybe he just doesn't like being spied on either. And maybe he can trust in one thing: I got to know you and you got to know me. So we actually spend time with each other. And if he's found this YouTube, it's I got a 0 and you probably have a 1. And maybe your dear wife has a 1. I know you two love, or you love her, but this isn't the Soviet Union. You don't have to. You two weren't getting along when she wasn't around at all. And maybe you guys were having a tough time. That's not my fault. I noticed it because I know you. I would suggest don't be mean to her, and that's not a good thing for you to be mean to a woman. You know that. You're better than that. If you have been. Maybe you haven't been. I don't know. I haven't been around. And maybe one thing we had in common was that you did your own thing. And if they're spying on you too, maybe they're spying on everybody in the city. Maybe it doesn't matter what phone you have, because maybe they're taking that. Maybe they're using their form of a supercomputer. Maybe they are, and it's de-encrypting messages. And the kind of software would be primarily guys born here and raised here, and they have their own hidden secret. And maybe you do know Tony, maybe you do, and he forced his way into your life because maybe it was his idea. Now you guys were all spying on the wrong man, because I don't like being spied on either. And this is clear. Does it mean I'm behind the glass? No, it doesn't. Some people are under investigation, some people aren't. And I have 2 eyes. And I'm smart, and I'm me, and I have the one that says 0. So the business man did. That's the right thing. That's the right thing. No big deal. And I get a pass, because I get a pass in class. I was smart in school, and I'm the boy of genius. And I went head over heels into dope dealing. And Chris G did too when he was young. And I asked him to come into town from when he was sitting at home playing video games. And I thought he hit Riella, but no, he didn't hit her. He just said she was something. And that was him when he was young. And I remember that vividly, because you don't say that to your stepsister ever. You two aren't actually related. And Ron's dad to Riella and Andre, not dad to Chris. Chris, your dad is Mr. Gregoire. I don't know his first name, but you're not Chris Boucher. So don't be hiding behind lies, pal. We're technically not pals right now. You got mad at me last year for not bringing an ounce bag of weed out to your uncle's. And I wasn't having that shit because I was busy. And I made you wait all day. You could have drove out and picked it up. I met your fiance. And I passed her an ounce bag of weed. And I'm sorry for your loss. I never got to know your son. You were with Alita. I'm sorry for your loss. I never told you that. I haven't seen you much since then, even if at all. So I'm sorry for your loss, right? I know your father probably never got to meet your son, and he's probably was just like a phone call from you. And maybe he's got some words of wisdom because he was a serviceman. He was a man that served in the Canadian Armed Forces. Whether he's retired or not, I don't know. I knew that from you, Chris. If you're Chris Gregoire, you know that. Don't be playing crazy thinking you're me, because it's genetically on file, and the police know that. Because I have my blood in my veins, and you have your blood in your veins. Don't be ashamed of your father because he's strict, or he yelled at you once. You said you tried cracking Kelowna once. Maybe he found out and yelled at you. That's the last time you seen him? Because that's the memory I have, and maybe that's true, because I'm Cody Hayden, and I can't tell you how much, and you're still Chris Gregoire, and this is not a bad spot for you to be in. You got into what you got into, and I'm me. I'm an independent drug dealer. You signed up. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I don't know. But your dad probably wouldn't know any of it, because he's he's probably still. They can't believe Vaughn is who he is, but hey, he did it well. He did it secretly, and it's in defense of our great nation. With the true north, strong and free, and maybe he doesn't get caught in Hawaii. Maybe he deserves a movie about him. Maybe he does. Maybe they want to make a Hells Angels movie. Maybe they call it Hells Angels Not at War, because this is a philosophical battle. Maybe there is an investigation into the Kamloops chapter. Well, wouldn't it be about time if there was? I mean, Jesus H. Christ. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. Maybe there's been multiple investigations, and they haven't landed any. Maybe they landed some, and I just didn't know about it. Who knows? It's theoretical, and I'm a fed up, disgruntled human being. And I am Canadian. I was born in Kamloops. Chris, I don't know where you were born. You never told me. I don't even know your middle name. You never told me. So if you did, I can't remember. And Kyle DeJong, I don't know his middle name either. Brendan DeJong will probably still hate me just for nothing. Because what? I punched you both out. I punched one of you out, and the other one hit the deck. I pulled him in the snow. Curtis watched it. You guys haven't discussed it. Me and Curtis don't have a problem. We never did. And that's the truth, though. It happened. I never told Chris about it. I never told anybody about it, but it's kind of interesting psychology when you two were probably throwing rocks at my dog, Duke. And you probably were. That's my guess. And they didn't want to ever tell me that, but they did tell me that Duke, I knew that Duke was the dog that did it, because my dad probably, maybe he didn't take the dog out to shoot the animal. Maybe somebody's dad did. And maybe that's what happened. Or maybe the dog ran off into the bush. I don't know. Nobody's ever told me. Maybe Kyle hit him once and he took off. Maybe that's who protects me out in the woods. Maybe. I never thought about it. No one's ever told me. Well, I just walked up Monty Mountain. I think that's the Monty Mountain. It's right by Mr. Strike's house. Is that Monty Mountain? Is that the one the tower is on? The cell tower? I don't know. I know one thing. It's Monty Hills. This is the foothills of Monty Mountain, or is it Monty Mountain, a different mountain? Well, I don't know. Maybe Monty Mountain is the one with the cell tower. I can't remember what the map said. I know it said Monty Hills. I got a pretty sweet idea for a place called Monty Hills. And Pat Haynes just wants me dead. And he's psychotically vicious. And he's been killing so long he doesn't give a fuck. And he doesn't. He maybe wants to be a different man. Maybe we've never met, and we have never met. So when you want to say I'm with you, Pat, you don't need to say that, because I never was with you. I don't want your fucking backing. I never had it anyways, because you guys have been trying to destroy me from within, just from systematic fucking druggings. And you guys don't like the news that Crystalline Grimm, that's her father's last name, she can go by her own father's last name, because she knows somebody from Hawaii's daughter, and they're close in Vancouver, and she sleeps with Eric, Donnie, or Jason, depends on where she is, because she's a slut. She always has been. So nothing new there. And Rebecca could double down on that if we're playing bingo or whatever the fuck, because Crystalline is a slut, and there's nothing new there. And all of Vancouver, the women in Vancouver could just, this is the truth. So she drives around in what, a BMW still? Well, hey, go ahead and cry, Crystalline, because you'll never be part of my success story. You're actually in direct contrast, or direct, you want me dead or in jail, or completely erased from the fucking world. But you're a stupid slut, and you always have been. So deal with that. And maybe you're ashamed so much you don't want to go into work. Maybe you're at work late because you didn't want to go leave the office because all your employees know it. Maybe you'd be a better manager if you're even manager. Or maybe you just get told that you shouldn't live in Vancouver anymore because you've slutted around and everybody knows you tried killing me. How many times? Because my mother isn't doing that anymore. And Chris Gregoire slept with you. You two had an affair, or maybe you did. That doesn't make you two brother and sister. Maybe you two played that role play. Maybe you did. None of my fucking business. Chris G's got a hairy chest, and I don't. Not very hairy. It's starting to get hairy as I get a little older, but that's not hairy like Chris G's. And there's no microphone there either. Why would there be a fucking microphone? It's on YouTube for free. And I'm not a goddamn cop, and this isn't the movie Departed. And you guys are playing a stupid game when Chris is running around pretending to be me or just making fun of me to people. And people are sick of it because, Chris, you're not me. You never fucking will be. So you better call your father if you want any leniency on whatever you got into. Because he's the man with the real connection. And him and Ron probably don't get along for a reason. And he's a Canadian without any. He knows Romeo Dallaire. He knows General MacArthur. And maybe Ron does too. And maybe Ron defended his country well and defended it really well because they don't want to get rid of the Hells Angels up here. I don't think Washington, D.C. doesn't. Because guess what? Who knows how many there are, but they want to defend Canada. And the working man of Canada is more important than any fucking Hells Angel ever. And they are. And they just are. Because where would we be without the working man? And there's a great movie. Robert De Niro says it to his son. And it's the working man that works hard every day. They get up 9 to 5. They do what they do. And I've been a working man, dope dealer my whole fucking career, hardworking, and they want to take that from me? They want me to leave the province as of a few days ago? For what? Because I do something better at a small scale and it's better than what you guys do? Because you guys do big leagues and you're not under any fucking investigation, Ron Boucher, so why don't you defend your fucking country? Or just don't do anything. Sit on your hands and fucking do nothing. Because I ain't the fucking problem. And this isn't a CI. This is a disgruntled fucking Canadian. And you guys fucking disgruntled me because you guys are Hells Angels playing a fucking game. I was in that house, that mobile, where you raised your family. One of your families, do you have other families or are you always loyal to Kelly? You probably were. I did something to test your fucking character. Kelly straightened me out. And I wasn't scared. I respected her for it. I gave her back her grass. She probably wanted a doobie after a long day's work. She worked the whole time and you sold that fucking property after you divorced her? How dare you? You got more money you can shake a stick at? That's not very nice. That is not very nice. If there's something on that property that says you would want her back, well, you probably have another girlfriend. Maybe you broke up with her. You're a dire, hopeless romantic. Well, you're French, but you're also a Canadian. So you have a temper. No kidding. What Frenchman doesn't? And I'm a British Columbian. I'm a Kamloopian. And I'm a Canadian. So it's pretty fucking obvious who your brother was. I clocked that when I read the book Hells Angels of War when I was 13. Doesn't mean you're him. That's a fact. He's a different man than you. Okay? You've done things differently. We have no reason not to get along. You just threw somebody off a scent that was like, what? You thought I was what? Doing something wrong in my life? I wasn't fucking it up. Because what you think, because you never done drugs, maybe smoke a fucking joint, Ron. Get with the program. Have a drink. You smiled at me once because I was on a Harley. It was my bike. I bought it cash for $9,500. Hey. She's wonderful. She is. I explained to her earlier if she didn't want to be on the content creation, just knock first and I'll mute it. So I'm not mad. I don't get mad. And she's known me my whole life. Literally. My whole life since I was a little baby. And I don't know what her two sons do for work. I just met one of them for the first time, I think. I think it's the first time I ever met him. He was here not more than 3 weeks ago. Well, it's not really any issue to know where I'm at because there is no issue. And there isn't. BC is a big, happy family. Well, it is and it isn't. Certain men have been completely flagrant with their going out of line with their power. And Pat Haynes is just a piece of the puzzle for other people because I don't like him. I've never seen him in colors and I haven't met him. So he wanted to say something to what had me framed up, or when he got proud, he said that, or it's just part of a frame up that wasn't going to work. Because I was never with Pat Haynes. I don't know him. I never met him in my life. Just because you know people when they were young doesn't mean they're the same people now. And of course he wants to buy favor in someone's life now that I'm here. That's how it's been my whole fucking life. I was born in this country and I'll die in this country. I've made a decision myself that I'll never take another vacation again. Because when my cat's abducted by Steve, Stack, Adams and Savage, and Sunio, those three, they did it as a fuck you to me. Maybe you guys should grow a set and say fuck you to them and just take the fucking cat back. Because Tony, Andy, and Al all doubled down on that, but they had nothing to do with it. Because Steve's a Hells Angel, Adam's a prospect, and Sunil's a what, prospect now? Or is he hanging around now? Is that his move? And you guys are gonna parade around my fucking cat like she's yours, and she's still my cat. When I'm negotiating for her, she's my cat, and I bought her from Montana, and I happened to buy her from one place. Maybe she was stolen at one point. Maybe she was. I don't know. She's a Russian blue. Maybe there's a family that says she's stolen, and maybe they're just trying to get her back so they could give her back to me, because I would pay money for her back, and I'd put on a $5,000 reward. But hey, Tony, Andy, and Al, I'm just a meth addict. I'm just a tweaker. But what was it like when you guys were 35? You guys were all tweaked out, or maybe Tony was the only one because he was working on the railway. Maybe my dad worked on the railway once too, but he went to something called being a cutthroat businessman or being a cutthroat biker. That's his life. That's not my life. And he called the cops on me twice recently, and he's not supposed to do that on a organized criminal. Doesn't do that. A dad does that to his son. That's no problem, and he hasn't lately. That's good. And well, I'm here, and the brown bag. Guess where it appeared? None of your fucking business, Key. Because I got better ties into the community than you guys do. Because the police were here first. They're 150, 160 years old, and I had a video about human trafficking, and it was filmed at Thompson Rivers Tubing. That was Scott Hubart's company. And my mom did invest in it. It was Shirley's money, but she did invest, and she was happy that summer. I just want to see my mother happy. I have no reason not to shake Scott Hubart's hand right now. And I know who works probably still for that company. Maybe she's moved on. I haven't met her for boys except for on Facebook. And I'm not the cutthroat killer that people say, and I'm not. I've never killed anybody in my own life. I've never pointed a loaded gun at anybody in my whole life. Never. I've never pointed a loaded gun at anybody, ever. I never even owned a pistol. I've been in dope business for 21 years. That's pretty much impossible nowadays, unless you're like a teenager and people let you get away with one. Or you guys that I worked with and you figure you don't need one. And that's only how it is for me guys back east, because they don't need one, because people know not to, because the only people they've ever whacked out are their own guys, because nobody's even challenged them before. And I know that from being an organized crime historian. But right now, a guy in Hawaii is now, he doesn't know where which way to go, because he's a fucking liar. If he's talking to somebody on video conference, he's a liar. And he's pushing his weight around with Pat, period. And Denny, maybe he's French, maybe he's British Columbian. He didn't want to do it, and I seen that. So he's not sure whose phone's bugged or not either. Maybe they're listening on everybody's fucking phone with these souped up towers around here. Maybe they're ready for my content creation and they are making money off the traffic. Maybe they're isolating traffic and keeping it for themselves, or maybe it should be wired. Maybe it should be ran through Seattle and then out to Washington, D.C. Oh no, from here to Ottawa and then to Washington, D.C. Because they're the politicians, they have all the fucking power. And you BC guys don't have the power like that, because you're just guys that were born here. Maybe you're at gut check time, because I'm the disgruntled human being that worked amongst certain men. And I'm not too disgruntled at Valdick. Really, I'm not. He didn't do me too much wrong, but now he's trying to take Tony's side. And Tony's probably spying on him as the same as he's spying on everybody else, or that's just somebody, and he doesn't get the data for that. And I was out in the Chase area last night, and I had a coffee on the side of the highway because I went to Salmon Arm and back. And I lie like a sidewalk, but I'm a good liar, and Tony's a bad liar. And he's retired now. And retired guys don't want to live up to their issues. Maybe I take the bike out without a cell phone. Maybe I end up somewhere. Who knows? Maybe that bike can end up in the back of the car, and it can. I rode a hog once. It was a hog because it was a shovel head engine, and it had a hard tail, and it had a pitch pad on the back. That's what the bikers called it. I never had a woman on there. No. I didn't want to put Catherine on that. She asked for a ride, and I said no, because she was not at all. She was a wonderful woman, and I met her and we fell in love. I gave her everything I had. She decided to go the other way on that, because she believed Valdick when he said that I was Christopher Gregoire. Well, I'm not Christopher Gregoire. You know who knows that? Mr. Gregoire in Kelowna. That's where he lived once. Maybe he moved to Kamloops area. Maybe he did. Maybe his son just needs a father in his life, and he wants to be there for you, Chris. I've told you that since. I've always asked, how's your dad? And he said maybe that's the last time he saw him because he gave him shit for smoking crack. And maybe that's true, Chris. Maybe he doesn't yell at you like that when you talk to him on the phone. You're fucking 34, 33, 32, somewhere in there. I'm not your mother, Chris. She might be watching this, Chris. Jesus, it doesn't matter what you got into. She was with 2 military men, or maybe Ron's a Coast Guard. Maybe he is the head of a ship. He runs a tight ship. Hey, he runs a tight ship. I ran a tight ship. I haven't had anybody work for me since Chris T. And he took a fall like a man. He remembers when I pumped you out. And the next day it was a pop. Well, that's a long time ago, Chris. And certain men have power. Certain men are retired. Other men are in power. And certain women are in power. And certain women made you look a certain way. And certain women still have power. And I never believed. I don't even know what that case was for. And I didn't believe it for a second. The queen would have groomed a couple women for a certain thing. And, well, this isn't. Maybe this is exactly what you wanted because it's gut check time and the sun's shining. And frankly, it's not cloudy out when I look northwest. It's cloudy when I look out the Pompano. That's the way they've been blowing. It looks like a cloud. And it rarely ever smells bad on anywhere other than Brocklehurst. And it really doesn't. That's only when the wind goes down that it smells bad there once in a blue moon. How do I know that? Great anti-Pat or Auntie Cindy. Well, Auntie Cindy lives in the yellow house in Sunnycrest. Great anti-Pat. I don't know where she lives anymore. Maybe she lives up in a mobile home park. Maybe she does. Maybe she does. And I'm not. Oh, Chris, what have you done? I don't know what you got into, Chris, but probably everything just to the chain of command. And if you're part of it, well, or you've gone astray, I don't know, because I don't know. And it's nothing that can't be forgiven unless you feel like your dad won't want to talk to you and you're being manipulated. And you don't want to kill me. I know you don't. And you're just being manipulated. And you are. And I never manipulated you. I gave you a square. I was trying to bump you up as like trying to say you should be in Kamloops, and I'll go on to move on to the city because I've always been trying to get down to the city for the big leagues, I would call it, because Kamloops is a small town. And if I ever make it down there, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'll have to walk down there at this point to just shake my head and fucking disarray that Pat Haynes is scared of being under investigation. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe he's been under investigation for fucking decades. Maybe he's gotten through 100 of them. And he's scared now because I'm talking on here, and I don't like him because I don't like him. I sense that he doesn't like me, and I could give a fuck how murderous he is. He can't do a fucking thing about it. And I have friends that I grew up with, and you don't, because you didn't grow up in Kamloops, did you, Pat? Fucking disgusting human being. Well, you want to try and do something? Do something. Come out here with your colors on and have a word with me. Don't bring a shooter. I'll meet you any fucking time of day at Denny's, downtown or on North Shore. Any time of day. There's cameras in there. Are the mics on or off? Corporate would not allow them to be on. So let me just talk like this, like they used to in that movie. You know, Casino? That's a movie. It's not real life. There's a reason those guys have big respect. Well, from all areas of, because they they are the big leagues. And why don't I move to the States and just hang out in New York? And maybe I'm in an RV in New York State. Would that change anything, Pat? Would that change how you respect me? Maybe I could be parked in an RV anywhere in the goddamn great state of New York and do what I like to do. And maybe they wouldn't. Maybe no one would bother me. And maybe guys could come by for coffee and we could talk, organized crime history. And maybe I could get some real stories because I haven't heard any. I just know through the grapevine that those aren't guys you talk shit about. And I'm the writer of Mob Radio. If they didn't want me writing it, I'd probably be the receiver of a snub nose, and it'd be loud. They're loud because they have a short barrel. I understand that. And they could just shoot one off beside my ear, and that'd probably teach me a lesson. And I'm sorry to Sam. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you there, and I didn't. But you know what you were getting into? Smoking crack. And that's when you were a teenager, and you shouldn't be on that shit. And up north was tough on you and Robbie, but Robbie's probably still around. And Robbie, he went up there and he worked, and I haven't seen him since I was married. And I'm sure he's up there. If he's up there, he's up there. If he's not, he probably doesn't want to be up there because that's probably isolating in the winter. And I've been on my own for a long time. And maybe Robbie doesn't know Chris. Maybe Chris doesn't know Sam. And maybe Chris knows Sam, but Chris doesn't know Robbie. And Chris, you're not Cody Hayden because you're not going to get away with doing whatever you're doing by blaming it on me. Chris, give it up, pal. Okay? Your father knows that I'm me and that you aren't me. So, what have you done lately that you're not proud of? I don't know. Is it what they told you to do, or is it what you get away with because you're a close counterpart to these men, or no, you're not a counterpart. You're just an associate of certain men. And frankly, I'm not even an associate to the club, because I'm not. But in order to get certain products, I got to go somewhere. And I wrote some fictitious stuff online, and it's a nice theory to counter American power in this country, but it doesn't actually have to be countered, because it's just a theory, and it's fiction at its finest. And just because I holding something, does it look like it? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't. Well, I'm not acting online. If I was in New York State, I'd probably be just showing it'd be like an optical illusion. And oh, you notice something there? What color is it? Oh, and I'm not trying to be a smartass, because I am Cody Hayden. And if I wrote the Mob Radio and a bunch of them, this one with like the channel's picture on there, and it looks like such a fearsome picture. And I did write that one. And I can't remember the numbers on that one, because I'm so fucking mad that someone stole my Samsung in the first place. And it's the only Samsung I've ever bought from I haven't ran a cell from Samsung before, and it had that picture on that Mob Radio. And someone named Steve Stack has it in his possession. He hasn't returned it, because you guys are all just waiting on me to be shot or killed or put in jail. And they don't have a fucking serious organized criminal amongst any of them at my age. There's none of them, because they're all living on the reputation of their old man. And my old man is a good man, and he doesn't have to worry about Iffy, because if he's losing his fucking head, he does it telekinetically. Well, why don't you make a fucking phone call or stop by? If you're not going to stop by his house, we'll shoot you, because you're ruthless. And we know who you are. I seen you once. He knows you from when you're a kid. He hasn't been involved since you probably guys tried to screw him up north. And he went through an interrogation. He didn't say a fucking thing. So what the fuck is your guys' problem? And Key and Craig have always been in my corner. So if they get 50 cents per, that's a nice thing for them. Better than fucking nothing, Iffy? So you just fucking throw him in the fucking clink. And the business owner did it right. And Dennis, how am I supposed to know? I know, because I knew the whole time. But we had a nice thing, because he had a nice thing. And they just want to ruin us, because we're not up in the 150 millionaire fucking bracket like Pat Haynes there. And maybe 175 today, depends on the market. You fucking retard. Pat Haynes. He's not liked. He isn't. He just isn't. And nobody likes him no more. So, and he's going to just turn coat on somebody in Hawaii? No, he's not. He's going to take it like a man if something happens. He doesn't want to go through an interrogation. What boo-hoo? Someone who's from Hawaii has probably been protecting you from that, through his tactics and his connections. And that's me being a psychologist. I'm basically an organized crime psychologist now, because I know no one in New York State needs my fucking. Maybe I'll just set up a new practice, and I can help. Maybe I'll be a shrink without a fucking, with a shrink fucking diploma for organized criminals. Come out and talk to me. Don't bring a shooter, and don't bring a fucking bodyguard, and we'll discuss. We can discuss anything you want. It'll be in a concrete room, 3 stories underground, and there won't be a mic. I'll film it being built. I'll have great Uncle Randy cement it, so we'll know he doesn't fuck around. And we'll ask great Uncle Randy not to put any microphones in the cement wall, because they don't work with a shit through cement anyways. There'll be no rebar. It'll be completely fucking cement and super hempcrete. We'll use hempcrete, because Canada Exchange 365 was me in 2017. That was me. And I went on a prank call mission to to Langley there, where I sent a resume, and I said 2 things. You can't send a resume if you're Canadian. It says right there, you can't send it, because you have to be American. And I said I watched 2 shows on repeat, and it was Spy Game and The Recruit. I was just fucking with them, because that's all I was doing, because I had a feeling someone was not the same bloodline. Well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Let them figure it out, because there's no genetics. And Harold had 7 sisters and 1 him. Could you imagine the pain he goes through, and even in the afterlife, if he's in heaven? He probably wanted to be banished to hell to get away from him. And even though they're all wonderful. And well, I love my grandpa Harold, and I was my grandpa. And Chris, you have your own grandpas, and you should be learning from your father about their life. And he probably is allowed to call, and he just doesn't want to call his dad because he's scared of him. And Chris, if you haven't been caught for anything, I've been trying to push him to call his dad and be close to his dad my whole basically adult life. Well, when did I move out to Garrett Road? After me and my mom and dad lived behind the greenhouses and well, out Dallas Drive, so Monte Creek. We lived there when I was pedaling a bike to visit Carson. There's only one of them, and he's a good man. He happens to be a Muslim now. There's nothing wrong with that. I sent him one video, and he sent it to two people I bet, and that's kind of like a prank to them. And I was only made that video because I was pissed off at the ex-wife. I divorced her in 2021. It went through to a company or to the server, and they have it. And I just didn't, and I probably didn't email them back. And one of those two girlfriends I had last year, they're both wonderful, and I stand beside them and in front of them to say that nobody touches the hair on either of their head. They got to deal with their own bullshit, and they don't get to keep being conniving, thieving little, because they're not. They're smart young women, and I dated them when I was having a good time. It's my 20th year anniversary, and I had a good time. And I'm not threatening anybody. And I'm going to pick my nose with this knife, just like I did on the Twitch stream. I have a high pain tolerance. It doesn't actually hurt. Not yet. It hurts a little bit. I wouldn't be trying to and this one about a man named Genie, that wasn't about anybody from back east. I seen that somebody got out of the can, not the bathroom. And that was years ago. I figured it was something his brother got him, didn't shit for, from beyond the grave. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't. You probably have to think about it. I don't know if it was or was not. But well, somebody else maybe got a nickname from somebody, and maybe she played tennis, maybe she doesn't, and it was a double nickname. Maybe it was, wasn't, maybe it was, wasn't, and it wasn't. I don't know. It's just a hint that maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. And I know people are watching, and maybe we should park it. Maybe I'll sneak across the border. Maybe I'll get in my Monte Carlo with a small. I might have enough gas to make it back east, but the gas prices nowadays, with what I have in my pocket, and I got no credit left. It's all maxed, and I can thank Valdic and his son for that, because they played me like they thought they were playing me. But guess what? If you two are being spied on too, or not Adam, because Pat Haynes likes him, and Valdic, he did quit on you. I was there. You threw me $7.50 once, and I threw you $7.50 back. It wasn't about money, and those weren't big ones. And somebody out in Hawaii is feeling about 150 big ones heavier in the pocket, or over top his head. It's not over his head because he can handle it. You don't like it. And Ron Boucher's back from his hunting trip because he was going hunting in the bush, or he was going up to Pemberton or somewhere, I guess, right? Or he's in maybe somewhere between here and Whistler on the back road. Because I took that back road once with a punk. That was Pascal Hayden. And we went to Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, and I offered Sam Shellmeister the goddamn bed. He didn't want to. He slept on the floor. It was it was up to him. And that was on Davie Street, but it's at the end by the water, and there's three of us. And hey, he didn't want to sleep on the bed. I offered him the bed. I would have slept on the floor. And the cheap Chinaman should have had a cot in there for us. And while he's a cheap Chinaman, there's nothing new with a cheap chink. And that's where the cheapest hotel I could find. And it was on Davie Street. Doesn't mean the whole street's full of homosexuals, no. Because one of them was my cousin. One of them was like a best buddy from school. And we rekindled our friendship there. And his ear still doesn't work as good as it used to. And, well, that's not my fault. I didn't get on the crack rock as a young man. And you did. And that straightened you out for years. And it worked. But now we have worries that maybe you're not straightened out. Like rehab could be an option. And because the fentanyl almost got you. And as long as you're not on that shit. And you told me that last time I seen you. And you're doing something in Blue River, like working at a brewery or something like that. And there's only one Sam, and he's not Grandpa Sam. He's working on being a dad. He probably wants children. He's about that age. Maybe he doesn't. And, well, and my business is none your business. And that's none of Pat's business, too, because he's searching around for something that maybe doesn't even exist. And guess what? Maybe I didn't have any kids. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I got Pat Haynes on a hunting expedition that he doesn't need to hunt because he's losing his fucking mind. Maybe he is because he's been something called a psychopath, or he's not. But anyone at the top tier of organized crime isn't exactly sane. So maybe I do need to be a shrink. Maybe Pat Haynes is my patient here, because Pat Haynes, I'm not in the psych ward. And sometimes every once in a while I have the flashback of the smell of what they're using cleaning products. You can smell that with one's cells. And I've been back there a couple times. And it wasn't much fun, but I made it through. I'm just still trying to figure out what kind of oil they have in the Brinks truck, because I didn't heist the corporation, because it's a corporation. It's publicly traded, I think. Or maybe is that one private? I don't know. I know there's a man named Mr. Pertz, he's a CEO, or he was, or he is still, and he's a serious man. And I have never even thought about taking down a money truck. That was the movie Heat. That was a good thing. And there's another one called Dennis East, and there's no way there's a bank robbery there every 2 minutes or whatever that movie said. It's a movie. And Gerald Butler's a great actor, and he did one about the one where he's a strategic long-range thinker, and he was, which one was that? He's probably trying to figure it out himself if he's watching. He probably isn't watching because it hasn't made Hollywood yet. My ears are going pink because I talk so much. I'm just trying to get through the people that I haven't met yet, and I never was with Pat Haynes. I'm an independent drug dealer. I always fucking was, and at this point, I always will be, because and it's a nickname for one man that nobody's even thought about mentioning to him, because he's still someone's brother. And I know one thing: Brett Hayden did exist, and I was smoking weed with him. I can't remember it exactly because I was 4 or 5 or 6. And there's probably a reason why my dad moved me to Quesnel, and we left. Well, Chrissy was knocked up with was Tyler, and he's turned out pretty good, and he hasn't gotten into crime. Maybe he knows a guy that sold a juice needle, maybe, and maybe he's into the gym life. Maybe they're not in trouble with it because nobody's. No, and Tyler Asen is my nephew, and I know that for a fact. And he would know me from somebody he's never met before. So maybe the propaganda in Kamloops, a $350 trip. Maybe I need to walk down to the coast, and maybe people will start believing my story. Jesus. And maybe people, like my brother Brett says, they know how to steal electricity. Maybe they still do that. Maybe some people still do. Maybe people just don't know how to do a certain thing. Who knows what's going on around here? In British Columbia isn't a fucking land of fucking organized crime, and maybe Pat Haynes got a little too far in inviting his buddies out here for a rump roast and a diddling. Maybe Pat Haynes never but maybe Pat Haynes don't like me anymore, and that's fine. Maybe Pat Haynes and Cody Hayden don't like each other, and that's okay. Because I'm doing what I got a 0 over here on the people in there, and I know one thing: a couple people are watching, and bye go, bye bye, and bye bye, go. I had to sit down of her own choosing, and maybe she's someone's grandmother, and maybe you had to ask something like, I smell something, and I just thought of that smell because this isn't a psych ward, Pat. Maybe you just need to talk to a therapist, because maybe Pat and Brian have done things that they're not going to be forgiven for, or maybe they will be forgiven for. They'll never be caught, and that's their business. And maybe they're flown around the world. Maybe Pat hasn't left Kelowna ever since he got there. He's been scared of a man in Hawaii, and maybe I know him. Maybe I don't. I don't know him. I never met him in my life. And maybe some people were impressed by this thing that happened in Richmond. Well, maybe some people were. Doesn't mean they get to boss me around, because they never will. And maybe I start looking more and more like Chris's father and my old man, because maybe me and Chris's father never met, and we never have. And it'd be nice to meet him, because if Chris ever just got over the fact that he yelled at you last time for smoking crack when you were a kid, and you went back to Kelly's house because Ron was barely there, and he worked for 3 or 4 weeks at a time and came back for a weekend because he was busy working 2 jobs, like a man that cares about his country. And there's a maple leaf, and it's red, white, red, white, red. And naturally, colors of the club in question are white and red, because I haven't dealt with any of the other motorcycle clubs, and they haven't given me any fucking problem whatsoever, not one bit. And maybe I always wash my car at one place, and there's black and white on the inside, and there's some red there, and there's a hick vision or a hike vision. Maybe some men just didn't think I get this smart. Maybe some of them are glad I did. Jesus H. Christ. That's all I have to do to be a therapist for everybody except one man in New York State. He doesn't need therapy, and I know he doesn't, and he's not willing to talk about it. Some people haven't caught on to who that might be. And maybe I caught the news, and I'm the son of a bitch out here, son of a gun, son of an asshole, or son of a gun, because Mother Chef Sherry is not a bitch. She's not. She just isn't. She's a proud woman, and she doesn't need to do a goddamn thing for anybody. If she wants to go to work, and maybe I can figure out a way to make Rohan a little bit of a nicer manager because he did something that she would have to forgive in order to go back to work there, and that's her decision. And maybe I have a way forward with that. Maybe I do, but maybe David Jr. didn't find the YouTube yet. Maybe he didn't, and he's waiting on his friend to message him because maybe someone was thinking about doing something today. Maybe he was, and I seen him. He's a big man. I mean, he's in shape, and maybe he's there because he's a friend or a son to somebody, and maybe mother doesn't know what son does, or maybe that's what it was, and the woman there is just there because she works there, and maybe I haven't met her yet. She's the old bird on campus or on the site. And I was always thinking that place would be great with the camera system, but they want anonymity for the people that go there, and it makes sense. I was thinking if I could get the pass from Justin Trudeau, maybe I could. I know how to wire up a surveillance system. I'm an electrician. I got about 1,000 hours. And one thing I'm not doing, going back to work for Brent Howell, because I don't want to. He's a good owner. Him and Trevor shared a laugh the one day. I don't know what they're laughing about, but I whacked myself in the eye with a wire right after that. Neither of them told me to wear safety glasses. They didn't notice. Tyler, who was there, he passed away. It was suicide, and that's because I know the wages have been bumped up $5, but I'm not going back to work as an apprentice electrician. It's just not happening. You know how I know that? Because I know that. I'll go live homelessly downtown. Who can tell me that? Who not to do that? Myself. I don't have to do that because my situation has gotten better. And how was it in 2255 Middle Street? Well, let me tell you, I got all the time in the world to talk about it because maybe those guys are in investigation. Maybe they are, and too fucking bad for them because I'm a disgruntled Canadian and I don't know anything about him as far as current. I don't, because I can do hypothetical, theoretical, and I kept myself at a feels length when they wanted to keep me at arm's reach, and I know certain people are watching because how could you not be? I'm looking at the time on the clock, and that's 1 hour and 11 minutes, 28, and it is. It's not a whole day yet. Some people are getting to know me, and there was a picture over there before, but nobody knows whose picture that was. Someone, I didn't get mad at her. She knows to knock, it's loud music. And she's like an auntie. She is like an auntie because she's not the same blood running through my veins. No, genetically, she's a little different, but she's been in my life the whole time. And I played Lego with someone once. That's the last time we've seen each other. And I met her other son, recently, and he's a baseball player. So, and that's nobody's business. So, and that's the truth. And one man's business is not another man's, and that is that. And I'm not 65. And maybe I have a magical gift of making young men old men seem young, and older men who have the power. And what's happening in BC is kind of like reverse osmosis, like a filtration system. Like some people, like my mother, she gave away the code to this fan system, and who's got it? And who knows who's got it? And one thing is true, that certain men call and certain men pick up phone calls, and they know for a fact other people are watching. And I had to burp because I haven't eaten it today, but I know one thing. The car's probably still there. It's been towed. And it's a bag. And I played my strategic hand perfectly. I'm like J.L. Butler was in that one movie, like a long-range strategic thinker. But I'm not a. Maybe I made a prank phone call once. Maybe it was just to get somebody to call my sister and tell her to fuck right off. Because she's no good. And she's like no good. Maybe my mom and dad. And she's not going to be hurt. She could be put in jail. Maybe not. I would go visit her every Christmas if she got 30 years. I'd make a point of it. Tyler and Matthew probably wouldn't want that. Maybe Tyler doesn't mind because she's the one who gave up his position, his location. Because it wasn't maybe clone phone and GPS. Could have been that too. But she knows one thing. Her son was hit with a car. And she seems to know something about it. And it wasn't her. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. She'd have to explain that to Tyler. Because he was hit with a car. My mother's car was taken out in front of 2255 Middle Street when I was not living there at the time. And that was something called Brandon reporting from on his way by, reporting to the Jason R, the fish. Oh, the fish, he's a guppy. The one in Hawaii he's a full-grown shark, and I'm like a saber-tooth tiger or like a Komodo dragon. Komodo dragons are the oldest known animal on the planet. Do they talk to me? Do I talk to your mother? Christy? Lowercase or uppercase? You're not above the law, pal. So you want to say that to somebody else when I get out of the hillside and one south? That was when I was running naked through the park, and that embarrassed my old man because I hitchhiked on the side of the highway nude, and the cops couldn't believe what I was up to because I had a fearsome reputation, and that's when I took my reputation into my own hands. Hey, they wanted to make me mentally unwell. No, I took that pill. I remember now. I remember kind of what I was thinking. Jesus Christ. Some people heard it coming. It didn't startle anyone. And if you like meeting Brent Keane again, because I know his health isn't very well, because I visited him with my ex-wife, and she got to meet Brent Keane before Grandpa Wayne did, because Grandpa Wayne's gone now. So, well, I knew he was gonna get to meet her, and we spent a nice time at Chase Park together with him. And Grandpa Wayne was a legend, and I can't prove anything, but something tells me somebody swerved, and Brian Ledoux can't believe it because it happened right in front of his house. And he 1 month later, 1 month to the day, and if that ain't a sign of true love, and there wasn't suicide, no, there's no fucking way he was suicidal. So what happened on that bridge? Somebody with a bottom rocket did something, and they were wearing a mask because they heard of me maybe wearing a mask coming out of an RV, and when I rode that Harley, I sold it for $2,500 because I was selling it cheap, and a good man out of Calgary got it. And there's lots of good men in Calgary, and except for one, Graham Porter, because he hasn't found this YouTube stream yet. Maybe he hasn't. No one's told him. I love him. He's like a brother. But I met him in the gym once, and well, he hates me now because he's on Jason R's brainwash. Literally, he's brainwashed by Jason R. Because Jason R is just a fish. He's like a little guppy, like this big. I remember when the first time I met JR, I met him at North Hills Mall, and the story doesn't get better than this because I met him. I stood up to him. He's a Surrey guy. And he was after Bradley, and him went to Bradley's a stand-up guy, and he is, and I can say that about Fat Bradley, PHAT. That's like Fat Farm, and he's an excellent man, and he's and lo and behold, he's from Ontario, or he's a Fouché, so he's a French Canadian, or he's from Montreal. He's been to Montreal, and who knows, he was from Ontario at one point, and he's like a brother. All I got to do is maybe I just call Bradley, and we live like we usually did as brothers from other mothers, because whenever I'm with Bradley, everything's good. And he's still cheap me out for doing that electrical job at his place, but he did give me all that grow equipment. We used it once. Nobody's growing dope anymore. And how many times has he heard guys come over there and talk shit about me, or say that they don't like me, or they just whenever Bradley never brings me up, but guys have to bring me up because they're jealous. And they're all jealous of one thing: what happened in Richmond Elementary. And well, I remember two things that happened. One was very sad. It was suicide, and a young man committed suicide, and that was horrible. And then I remember Brett. I remember I wasn't there, but he stomped the man out out front of the school, and that was Brother Brett's reputation. That wasn't nothing I did. I was a young man, and I can't remember. I was smoking weed, so I was smoking weed secretly with my brother, and he shouldn't have had me on the weed, but I remember. I don't remember much. I must have been stoned in class a lot. and I remember the stairway from a Chinese, Canadian. His father was Chinese. I think he might have been from China. And when Harold had his hands on me, because Harold was my grandfather, and this Chinaman never did. He only tried to teach me something. I can only remember the stairway. It was a nice stairway. And I remember playing Dick Tracy with another one of my buddies. I know he was at the time I was out of East Indian. They're not all bad. They're just from India. And this is what East Indian is from India, and Canadian Indian is the First Nations, and the American Indian is First Nations too, but it's different there. They don't call them First Nations. They call them Indians. And there's not. And the Redskins, I don't like the name change, but the Commanders is still a good name. There's nothing bad about being called a Redskin. I don't think. Maybe there is. It's a different name. It's a good name. I like the name Commanders. It's a good name. And and I only have so few memories. I remember also being when I was back in Steveston, when a man named Steve, he lived in Steveston. And you remember he had an Alero 2-door, and he actually had this car. And he's not married to Crystal Ann anymore. He probably is the only person that hates her more than I do. And maybe not. I might hate her more than he does. And it's close. Am I right? Oh, God, I hate her. And I don't ever visit her anymore, ever. Like I didn't visit her. I was having a hard time with my divorce because I was drugged systematically, and it was not by Catherine, but she decided to wake me up in the middle of the night and terrorize me, and I just jumped off the deck to get away from her. That's the last time I ever spent any time with her, and things were going great, but I was having too much fun playing cards, and I was beating whatever fix was coming down on me. I was beating it. I was making money every week. Finally, a change of location was great, and Rio, may he rest in peace. And well, he had that heart issue and he passed away, and that's well, I had to do something with him, and well, I should have buried, and he was buried, and somebody just took him away in a shoebox, and that's a secret, and that was Grandpa Wayne, and well, no, some people don't say everything, and you know, it is what it is. I'm done beating myself up about not being a good cat dad or a pet owner, one of the two, and well, some people know I'm real, and some people know I'm not, and well, but anyways, everything was going good there, and we had a nice little existence. And when I said something to someone walking out into a grocery store, I was only hinting at spicing up a marriage, but that went the wrong way. Somebody has a little bit of a drinking problem then. She probably doesn't now, and she's wonderful at work or her business, and hopefully she's doing very well. I just wanted her to have a new life, and I think she does have a new life, and she probably appreciates that. And I'm not having a flashback. I'm just remembering my vivid memory. I have a photographic memory. Not everybody does. Somebody on the deck of Bogetti Drive said my Uncle Johnny had a photographic memory too. And don't get us into Uncle Johnny because I never was told a story about him once, but I get the estimation that if he he was not a striker, he was his own man. He might have put in work for different organizations, or maybe some guy got fed up with him and tried to kill him once, and maybe a couple of Russian outfit guys did try and kill him. Maybe they were trained killers, and maybe this did happen. Maybe he didn't get caught for it. Maybe in the can or the clink. The clink is what Jamie E says, and Jamie E, guess what? He knows the difference between Chris Gregoire and Cody Hayden. Chris Gregoire doesn't know who he is, and Jamie E knows who I am. And there's the dividing line right there, because Jamie E is a serious man out of Surrey, and he would like to protect both of us, but he doesn't know what Chris has been into, and nobody told him the real story. Maybe he's found a YouTube feed. And I know one thing. His son's name is Braden, and he knows who Big C is, too. The young guys keep in touch. And that's the nickname from the young guys, Big C. And the young guys, because they're still in elementary school, or they're working on getting through. And Blaze would be, I'm not an uncle to Blaze, I'm a second cousin. And his wonderful sister would be, well, I have to talk to Uncle Serge because I'm having a hard time remembering, and I met them both in Surrey. And there's a 7-year difference between Tyler is my nephew, and Brett is like my brother, but he was 7 years older. But he died of suicide. And Uncle Serge was there, and I blamed it on in front of Grandpa and him. I blamed something on his ex-wife, and I knew for a fact he committed suicide. I knew as soon as Auntie Cindy and Grandma Shirley said it, because I didn't take that phone call. And I decided to go and tell Kyle D, the guy that I got into a fight with, and drop 2 of them. I knew they'd want revenge, so I told him that I was after revenge. And he told the whole world trying to get me killed. Joke's on you, Kyle. And he still did hit my dog. And where'd he end up? Anybody tell me? Is he in the bush up there? Or did my dad? If he hit him with a 2-by-4 well, he probably had to shoot him. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Nobody wants to mention that to me. I just heard what I heard, and the settlement went Brendan's way, and he probably had a hold of him, so he probably had to hit him well, and maybe he didn't get let go, so maybe he beat him pretty good, and then they had to put the dog down. Well, maybe it's not the end of the world. No one's talked to me about it, and I can get over it. I know one thing. I erected a fort up the hill. And which hill? Men fight for a hill, and they do not know. That fort was meant to stay. And me and Sim Strike and another man, we win the day on that one, because we spent the night, we cleaned it up. And that's red, white, red for a Canadian flag. I just had to make sure something Brother Brett told me in secret wasn't true. Brother Brett and when I was missing in Richmond, I was hidden in the laundry thing. Nobody found me in there. and Brett was hidden in the backyard because we went missing together. Teenage Mastermind. Brett Hayden's not here anymore. It would be nice if he was, but that one phone call I should have took it. I live with my mistakes, and well, everybody's got to live with their own mistakes. Maybe somebody just wasn't at the scene when he was riding with somebody, and it's a fluke occurrence. Maybe he should have been at the scene. Maybe he didn't want to get his license pulled. Maybe that's all it is. And well, hopefully that's all it is. And it probably is that. Maybe it isn't. We do for what people do for greed and secret esteem. Because I know one thing, there's a blue house by there, and that's where they keep the repossessions, is it? There's the attack dogs there, and they weren't Christies. They never attacked me. They wondered who I was. I guess they must have had a smell on me. And I had a dog wink at me last night. I shit you not. Or did he have a nervous twitch? Well, hey, wildlife isn't my problem. And Duke was a great dog. I remember one memory about Duke. And I don't drop no dimes. So that's not what I'm doing. I'm telling my life story. And I don't drop no dimes. That's not a magic trick. If I induce a little bit of methamphetamine, because I want to. And I make my own rules. I'm out on my own out here. And just because the guys in New York State, they don't do any of it and they weren't allowed to even try this shit, well, and maybe I'm a bit autistic. I don't think I am. I'm pretty fucking safe to say I'm not. And I'm pretty smart. I just spend time by myself. Because I always like being by myself. And out here, it's a lonely goddamn world. And I know some people always have my back. I didn't ever have to really talk to them. But someone called from New York State. I pick up the phone immediately. And no one was there. And I know one thing. I'm not hiding away from sit down. And I'm pretty sure when they fly in on a plane, they could fly in private. And they could land at any airstrip they wanted. Or they'd have to call ahead. That's something called I don't know what that's called. Something to do with airspace. And pretty much everyone who flies calls that in, or else somebody who gave me a detailed escort would have to knock them out of the fucking air. And well, they're just probably wondering if I was spying on who? Spying on you? Spying on me? Because I'm pretty sure Cuba's still communist, but they do their own form of communism there, and it's beautiful there. And the people are in hard times, but they seemed happy. I seen Thomas there, the bus, and I took some good pictures. And I think that's on one of my iTunes accounts that is locked, but I just need a new device. I was gonna go get one today, try and get one, because I'm racked out. I ain't taking a loan out of New York State because they're gonna want interest on it. So, and it's not happening. I'll go to Money Mart and try and get it out of them, but it's not happening. So I'm pretty sure I got this here and other people are watching, and I don't like that. Well, it's nice. It's not nice, but I don't know it. It's kind of nice. And this here is the real diamonds. I don't know. I could ask Doug from Characteristics, but he's not in business anymore. They called it the Bench, and it's a beautiful name. And it's got nothing to do with. It was that before that, and they probably got it off Instagram because Jason's not on the bench. He never was. He never fucking will be. And there's only one street gang that's popular, and it's mine. If other people find shit, because there's not anybody on the bench in BC, and it's a big landmass. North America is an island, or is it surrounded by snow and ice? Well, in BC we got provincial borders, and it's part of a country named Canada, and it's called international borders and provincial borders. And you don't need any. You can just drive through coming in from Alberta, and if people got through that way, well, they can probably get voice recognition software to keep me out of a hotel. And when I use Leolist, I can't get a call girl to save my life because they're all bots. And you guys want to make me out to be something that I'm not. You want to keep me in a little fictitious world. Well, that's when I get involved and say, whoever's in Hawaii can go fuck himself. And that's all I got to say about that. And maybe he's a friend of ours. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not a friend of mine, though. And maybe I do my own thing. Maybe it's fiction at its finest. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. And we're trying to help Teenage Mastermind. Videos from and I never rolled over on a guy from New York State. And they probably haven't rolled over on anyone. Guys from band's gonna try and be a tough guy, but he's not a tough guy because he's got to get up and use the washroom, and he doesn't want to because it's a good show. And I'm not a nomad. I never fucking will be. And I'm not a Hell's Angel. I never effing will be. Not for $1 million a day do I put on those colors. Because to me, I don't like them. And that's why they've never shown them to me. Not in person. I was there at T-Bars. I sat down. I had a drink. And I said nothing. I tried to pay attention to the stripper. I seen one man to my right smirking, trying to pretend like he's the next in line. I seen another guy, his hair straight back, an old timer. Well, he'd be an old timer now. He's probably 80 plus club, and he didn't even look over. He was hair straight back. And I seen another guy behind me give Clayton shit for nothing because he wanted to give him shit. And why not? Because I grabbed Clayton by the neck the one day at the one club by the White Rock. He asked me not to, and I never did it again. He's a big man, and he saw the kid one day when I was counting cash on the floor, and pranks on you because the kid don't act like no squid, and he doesn't need to be hid, and he doesn't kid, and he don't like those buds that were mid, and he doesn't like taking acid, and he never fucking fled. He tactically retreated, and he'll do that if he needs to until he's fucking dead. So you guys want to be tough guys? Why is Sean Duff called that? Sean Duff ain't with the RS. No, he ain't. He's a man that uses, and he was defended by me well last year. Defended well by me, and people stopped because I talked to one of Steve guys, and and they know what I said. And I talked to one other man, and he's simply probably missing Scott still, or he doesn't care. I don't know. But he knows his mother knows me from back in the day, and I tried to walk Brian Ledoux and around something, and he knows nothing, and he doesn't want to help the First Nations band at all. He's not liked by them, and if he's pretending to be better now, well, he's being a liar. And I tried to help out with a situation of the house that was burnt down on the reserve, and that was simply because somebody gave me a key, and I never told anybody about it. No, I put it on my keychain and forgot all about it. So they probably figured you said something to Jaden, and before I came over there, you figured that out, and then you ran me around with an axe, because you're Esket, that's your last name. You were in the Canadian Armed Forces, weren't you? And he's hidden there, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't, and he's simply not liked by the cops. Probably isn't. He told me some stories, and hey, you're probably there in the same place, and we're supposed to be buddies. And maybe Shay isn't there anymore, and I found out her name through somebody else secretly. And maybe somebody else is the nameless one, and she doesn't know who that is. And one thing I know for sure is I drool a lot because of what I take every night for medicine. And doctor-patient privilege is doctor-patient privilege. And it's not anybody else's business, and it isn't. And I can talk a lot, but I still need disability because I need to pay my bills. And just because I have a car doesn't mean somebody didn't help me out with a day permit. And nobody checked the back of the car. And the car I've owned since 17. I bought it with my own cash that I earned from hustling. And when money goes into a pocket, it's their money. It's that person's money. When I have money in my pocket, it's my money. Because we're not living in a communist fucking regime here, are we? Or is it Nazi communist regime? Because I don't think it fucking is. I think it's the provincial government that protects us from things like, invasion of one's thoughts and all that stop police stuff. And we don't need those. We need these bikers to start believing that they're fucking Canadians and they haven't been possessed by the death head. And I'm talking about the baby boomers. Because maybe they're under investigation. Maybe they are. Maybe for several billion on this planet. Maybe there's a raid somewhere every fucking day because there's only 365 days in the year. I'm not talking about a panty raid. I'm talking about a raid like by the police. And maybe I was a little bit, what is it? The word I always forget. Maybe I'm a little bit chauvinistic. Maybe I am. Chauvinistic Cody was funny. And that was meant to be funny. And maybe it's supposed to be funny so the men kind of feel like it was supposed to be funny so the women could get a little peace and quiet. And some women picked up on that, but you have to be older, and if they haven't gone through menopause, they can't be trusted. And maybe that's why the BB, the Royal 22s, is for the oldest birds, and they're still around, and they still hold all the secrets. And they hold all the secrets that could get men shit canned right to the fucking oblivion because they seen with their own eyes who was in colors way back when, and they don't know who's who. And I'm still with grandma and the grandmas, the great grandmas, because what do you know? Somebody is a great grandma and she's a young one, and then guess what? Nobody ever knows because Pat's looking around in the wrong fucking places for somebody. And he thinks he found something. Well, he doesn't need to find anything because what if it was known in New York State? You're looking around for somebody's daughter. Maybe she doesn't even exist. Maybe she does, and somebody knows the truth. And there's only one it could be, and maybe not. Maybe I talked to mom and dad because secret for a reason, and I'm popular online, and I'm really pretty strict with certain things, and there's a reason why they all defected on me. One sec.
Yeah.
And this is entertainment sector, so it's a bit of an act. Everything's fine. I told you that. I talk a little louder and I should turn on some music. Because I have another speaker here. Is that one wired for sound? Is that the one I got from Sean Duff? Sean Duff, you're a good man. He gave me a couple gifts, and I bought the one. And you don't have to listen to Nathan. Because Nathan's not going to play score from Peter and Paul from Paul. Because he's the reason you went running after a secret that could have been found in the lake. Because a river flows into a lake. And it wouldn't have mattered. You could have just went out and got it. Someone walks at me, and I'm prized. I'm the golden boy, and you're not. So you guys may be on a steroid trip. Maybe he is. He's in BC. And he's outside of somebody's parameters. And well, if he is, he isn't. And somebody's trying to play me like maybe he is trying to play me. Maybe at least what his great uncle did with that. And probably is. That's his family. Maybe Fred Hayden was my brother. And Fred Hayden ended up in Las Vegas with his older brother. Maybe we don't know what to do about his great uncle. And his great uncle simply doesn't let anybody breathe. I know one thing me and Brad are getting out of this, and we are, and it's a little far off, but we are. And he knows them all, older generation. He's one of the 40-year-olds that was awesome to me. And Billy was too. Simply put. You guys aren't taking my dope line away, and that's the piece that you've been fucking warned. And I got friends in high plucking places. What are you guys gonna do about it? Fucking nothing. Sit on your hands and fucking cram it. Because there's one president on the coast who's a good man. I know that. And he's got other buddies. And he's got another buddy over across the bridge in Burnaby. And I figured it out. I don't talk shit when shit doesn't deserve to be talked, but quit pouring from Peter and paying Paul. Because somebody's grandfather would like to see an honest man, not a steroid addict. Hey, I never injected needles once in my life. When I had some to do, my mother took them away. And why? She doesn't need to be going in there like a petty fucking thief. Because maybe I got a scrap to go into. Maybe I do. Maybe you don't get to be on steroids when you're on them. Maybe we see you can beat somebody to fucking death accidentally. Maybe you guys all rolled over on each other. You got out of jail early because someone sprung you by using blackmail. And maybe he's out early. Or maybe he just did manslaughter. Because he got a wicked lawyer from his grandpa. Maybe Wayne Assel knew his grandpa. Maybe my grandpa was murdered. Maybe the 80-plus-year-olds are concerned about that. Maybe someone added me on Facebook to say, hey, I'm sorry for, messing up down by the river. Or he's just there to listen to me talk, and he hasn't found the YouTube yet. Maybe we'll play it that way. Because you don't have me on Facebook if you're not a friend. And you looked up to me at one point, and you told me something about Matt Hickson once. I didn't remember who he was. If you would have said something about John Gotti, I would have remembered, because I never met him. But he wasn't exactly the perfect human being. I'm not going to talk shit about him. That's for sure. He's still, the memory of a man is still important. And I wouldn't dare talk shit about him. And I wouldn't. And who would? Nobody. And that's why it's John Gotti. It's like, who talks shit about Genghis Khan? Nobody. And two men were different. And I like to use something called the Amriders as a theory. Because I think it was in Battlefield, I think it was the earliest form of internet. because it was a communication system that he probably ran somewhere. He would have been he was a Mongolian, he would have fought the Chinese. And I made a YouTube account once called The Chin, and I did it for my own reasons. And it was kind of a double-edged sword. Like when said last year I was working for Uncle, I had my Uncle Johnny, and I brought him back from the dead last year. And nobody works for John Gotti anymore, and that's the truth. But the Gotti family is still respected, and they're very respected, I'm sure. And I seen a show once with the Gotti family, and it was a great show. I don't know how they're all doing. They're probably older than me because I was a kid and I watched it on TV. And, well, I mean, I probably wouldn't talk much in person around other people because I'm always, and once you get to know me, I talk a lot. And they could probably tell me stories, and I could probably tell them stories, but, that goes without saying. But who knows who's watching? And this is, I do my own content creation, and it's, well, I'm not no, and I'm not and who knows what's been said about me. And I'm a legitimate lace my shoes up dope dealer, and who knows what that useless fucking female called Chrissy Hayden has said about me. She's not my sister. And there's a wonderful girl named Angel Gregoire who would be closer to sister to me, and her and Ocean Angus would be closer to sisters to me than Chrissy Hayden would ever be. She should change her fucking name and move to a different country. She's a disgusting human being. She disgusts me, and there's no lie there. She disgusts me. And that's my new profile picture. Maybe I'll get a cover photo. Maybe I don't like being on camera all the time because I'm disgraced by her. She called me different things, and she says it to her friends that are in the 40. And Nikki got caught on her phone again, or she's simply working the night shift tonight, or she doesn't know what to do because she's a liar and she knows Crystal Ann, and she does. And how do I know? I just get the sense that she does. And well, who knows? I feel fine because I just had my medicine and I take it every night. And doctor-patient privilege is something that only if he breaches in this province, and if he does whatever the fuck he wants out here. He simply thinks he is the ruler out here. He thinks he's got a meter stick, and I ran into him accidentally once because I went east and I went to turn around and he was coming out of the driveway, and that was him. And he simply wants me dead as a doorknob secretly, and he thinks that I'm going to fall on a grenade. I wouldn't fall on a grenade for that guy for $100 million a second. I wouldn't do anything on the grenade. I'd throw it back. I'd throw it at him and watch him fucking. That's what I'd do. And maybe we wouldn't literally, but Sean and I might consider it, throwing it back at him. We'd have to talk about it. And well, never for his dear mother, and never for his dear sister. And I didn't grow up in the house. I was there once as a kid. Helicopter pilot my ass. And Clifford, there's more than one Clifford. Did he move shore? Is he just out there soaking up somebody else's power? I think he is, and that's the senior. And he's just out there. He's upriver, so he thinks he's more powerful. I don't fucking think so. That's one of his houses. He owns another one upriver further, and she's not there anymore. She never was. And Goose and Gander there. You probably get away with it because she allows it, because you're simply busy on the computer over there. And that's going to get pretty annoying for someone who's pretty annoyed. What am I working on? Maybe this computer's hacked. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this is just a... Maybe I'm funny online. Maybe that's a real account because it's a check mark. I'm having a beef with the Twitch TV girls now. There's a couple of them. Yulia has 2 long legs, and Mira isn't a mirror on the wall. But that's just me being me, and I have my own personality. Would I say that to both of them in a room? Probably not, because I get my ass kicked. And I'm like a sponge. I seen an autistic man, because I used to watch autistic men. Well, when I lived at Bogatti Drive, there's a house across the fire hall, and there's men that had autism, and they were in the backyard. And I just used to peek over the fence, and that was me. If the adults that took care of the autistic kids, I used to. And my old man knows me from being me. And I used to make something in the front yard, and it was like something to pick up on moisture. And Well, I used to pretend to be shot in the backyard when I was a kid. I was still in grade 4. I spent a lot of time by myself. In the year 2000, there was a bonfire in the backyard, and that's my old man having a bonfire, and we got away with it because Guy, he used to be in sanitations, and somebody else's dad was in sanitations waste management. And they know each other, and they can't remember, but he remembers, but Guy doesn't remember. And the guy that worked at waste management, yeah, that was Sydney have the one at Christmas. That was his daughter, and with everybody remind themselves that his daughter is his daughter. And do I have to go up there and get one of his? He probably has his firearms active license. Do I have to grab that? Go shoot King? Because his nickname is not. It's a nickname because he's no king. I call him peasant, and he's simply not who he says he is. Because he gave her something that wasn't blow, and she wouldn't listen to me at the time if I said it wasn't. She would have just freaked out. She does whatever an East Indian says to do. Because she's simply brainwashed by them. And sweetheart, don't worry, the East Indians aren't taking over. And nobody's getting your property. It's probably in his will to go to somebody else, like his other relatives. Because he's probably worried about something too. They're waiting, they're holding her hostage to get your property. And well, that's what I think. And simply put, she's with the bad side of the gangs. And simply put, Sunil's out on his own, or has he got his uncle's protection? Because I ran into him just, not yesterday, the day before. And he was scared, and he just didn't want to show it, and I didn't say nothing to him. And he's got my cat hostage, and I want her back. It boils down to him just giving it to me, and he's being stubborn. Him, Adam, and Steve have been seen together, and one of them had colors on. They have the cameras rocker on it, and somebody from Hawaii just got out of control because they don't have to kill to get into that chapter. There's no fucking way, because they just don't show me anything, and they're just putting colors on anybody, and they've all been seen on camera, and they're in their colors somewhere in town. They're legitimate businesses. Maybe he's not on colors because he's Canadian. You're born in around cameras. Steve, I never worked for you in Europe, and prior to 2010, and there's a hand-to-hand there, and don't worry, it's not on camera, and I never told anybody. But technically, and how many men did Brett Hayden rob? But when he passed away at 21. He made a lot of traction. He was a young man, and maybe I'm funny, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. What is the most underrated city in North America? Well, you know what I'm going to say? I'll have a guess. The VKK was my idea, and it came up on my TikTok account. Simply put, I'm the only one that's seen a Russian submarine, and I was on floor 6, and I was at floor 6 that happened, and I was just bored, and I had my cell phone there, and it was beautiful. It was a nice day, and well, I had my mind to myself then as I do now, and I just keep talking because I don't want anybody to try and telekinetically trick me. And I slept last night, and well, the Twitch girls are awesome, and Cat, I don't manage you because Cat is Kate. Or is it Kate? Is it Cat? I don't know. Cat Pacino is Cappuccino is like Al Pacino, but Cappuccino is very clever, and she's a clever girl. And maybe management's laid off a little bit, or investors simply don't bother her anymore. That would be nice. And well, simply put, men on steroids get a little bit touchy, and most guys are on steroids. They're not all Rocky from the movie Cobra. Okay, he worked out hard for that role, and he did never do steroids, and of course he did. And that's a different generation. He was young and he was in good shape, and that's a great movie. He also did well, it's not, the VHS store isn't open anymore, so people can't get these movies unless they download them illegally. I don't try and do that anymore. I wanted to have 24-hour content creation, and there's some women I would like to meet with the cameras chapter, like to say they're sorry to Cody Hayden for what happened at 2255 when one woman was there. I never cheated on her. She was a little too young to understand. I was being honest with her, and I had a drink with Jaden, and we're across the fucking courtyard from each other. We're just getting to know each other as a friend, because she was trying to figure out if I would load off someone else, and I was simply sourcing products somewhere, and I told him personally that everybody wanted me on their team, and he just changed sides as soon as, well, you took your second vacation of the year, and I simply needed a guy that, well, you did a good job, but you charged me way too fucking much. And that was Tony, Al, and Andy doing something secretly, but extorting you, or you went along with it. All you had to do is stand up and say, no, I'm giving him a price. And we could probably work again together, but I'm simply a buy around guy now. and you're the leader of a puppet club or what do you, puppet gang or no, that's throttle lockers. That's somebody else's, and that's not, they've never given me any problems whatsoever. None, not one bit. And that's probably goes to say, who the man is who runs the throttle lockers, and I don't know who that is. I think I might know who it is, but I'm not going to say because this isn't a fucking affidavit. It's not anything. It's just Cody Hayden from Kamloops talking, and is there somebody else doing something they shouldn't be doing? Because Valdic, you know who you are, and you got to know me, and you threw me $7.50 once, and I threw it back to you. And you think I give a fuck about that money? You don't care about it now, because you know who did quit on you? Your son did, and he did, and you guys all wanted to cut them into how much fucking juice do you think I'm going to pay for a fucking fix-up when I'm the fucking teenage mastermind back in the early 2010s? You all remember somebody being a mastermind up here. That's guys in New York State and down in California, eh? And they happen to be the guys, the them, of them, like, and simply put, you guys up here in BC think you rule the fucking roost, and there's only 5 million people up here, and this has made it out of BC. It has, okay? So, I don't know who the strict one is up here, but they all defected on me big time back in 2010. They did. They defected on me. That's what must have been what I was thinking when I took that yellow pill, that these guys are all defectionate, and if I live through this, we'll see what happens. When it took me 14 years to fucking 15 years, really, to decide that they're all defectionate, and now they're all fucking scared, they're under investigation, and there's only so many cops to go around, so the defectionate ones are not the Primary Legion. The Primary Legion are guys that tell the true story of who I really was. Like I was a teenage mastermind. I had a gang to myself. I wasn't on anybody's fucking payroll. And Jason Robertson, he might have had something to do with the blocks coming from the coast, but Jumbo was the guy I looked up to. And Jason Robertson's a fucking fish. And not the hockey player, he's awesome. But Jason R, he's called the fish now because he's a little guppy. And I'm not really that nice of a man when it gets into, like, the quality of life and then the fucking the just absolute debauchery of fucking human beings that happened at that place last year. And Montana might have had Chris over as a friend, or they get along really well, but he did get out of line with her. I sensed it. She never said it. And that's simply, she's a Powell and not a Roberts. Roberts is a made-up name, and O.N. is simply a friend, was a friend, but he was murdered. And Montana's brilliant. She's bright, and she's simply somebody that's tried framing up multiple people and tried framing up someone named Dan, and he doesn't watch any shit. And I haven't sold all of it yet. I seriously haven't. So, and when people take chances on me, I don't fucking forget it. And when people are listening on her phone, they must have cloned her phone when she was sleeping. And when I'm not allowed a smartphone, who says I'm not allowed a fucking smartphone? Is that Randy? Is that Randy out there? You guys are in shit with guys that are listening stateside. You understand that? You guys are still playing the same fucking games that was Randy's frame up, and he wanted to put somebody else in a bad spot, and he's fixed his keys, or the keys, he just needs a new one. He's got money to do it, but he's a working man, and he doesn't get any extra money, or me and him had a good thing last year. We got along, and it's just from February to February I diversified, and I figured out the fucking fentanyl crisis completely. I went and did it in Vernon 3 or 4 times. I did with Marshall. I puked my guts out, because I was on Abilify then, and must have a blocker to the shit. And I tried it out to see why the fuck people were doing it. And I'm a teenage mastermind. I risked my fucking life to know one thing. Pat Haynes is just a simply fucking psychotic killer. And he has blackmail on a fucking one paramedic out here. And one man is sick and tired of what he's doing. And he should be shot and put in a gas chamber because he's a neo-Nazi. And when me and the American bikers were having a nice moment when I was streaming in Valley View, the place was filled up with gas. Or was that just George smoking fentanyl upstairs? Because he got hooked on fentanyl and they got him off of it now? Or is he still fentanyl junkie? Or is it still something he has in his weed? Because Jason and I are still supplying drugs. That's something neo-Nazis do. And Jason and I is thinking, because he's caught, his dad should go out and shoot him. Literally. He would have when he was a young man, probably. I met his dad once. He didn't look at me like he didn't like me. I don't like your son. You and my dad don't get along. That's up to you. But my dad is Guy. And me and him never talked organized crime once. He told me a couple stories, that's it. And you know what? I could be a famous content creator. Maybe I am. I have the YouTube stream that's 0. That's because of Queen Elizabeth II, and I know that. And she would teach me better than to be violent. If I was violent when I was a young man, and no one even challenged me in a fight, I fucking beat the bark off of all of them. That's one generation. And it's not a military man. Me and Chris never fought. We wrestled, and I wrestled with a lot of guys growing up. And Nobody ever really got me. Derek from Cash Creek was challenging. He's simply older and stronger, but he never tapped me out. And me and Billy could wrestle, and we could wrestle like, with a wrestler like Jamie Edison. That's where the buck stops, because Jamie loves me. He doesn't know Billy, and he's from a different generation. And me and Jamie could wrestle, and we could wrestle as for fun, but grown men usually don't do that. And Christy's doing something that's embarrassing him. You better stop doing that. Somebody clued into that. Simply put, your new guy is not Valdic. He's not cutting me out of my dope line, Valdic. You diverse. Asked him fucking 6 times if he wanted to diversify into side and fucking pants. He wouldn't do it. Now he's making his own up there, and his first batch went well. We'll see about that. This fucking Valdic, he's a real tough guy. He's a real tough guy until he flies out east. You can cross the line when you go to New York State and have a meal. Yeah, I don't think you would be welcome out there right now. If I had enough money, I could drive out there and legally cross the fucking border probably somehow. And I'd be welcome. Maybe I just have to show it there illegally. They're fucking stupid up here. They're stupid because they've just been left alone for too long, and they think they're hidden away. They're just, this isn't whistleblowing. This is me telling the true story of my life, and I can't fucking stand those guys. And my dad's all right. He's a good guy. I'd say he's a stand-up guy. He trucked legally for 20 fucking years almost. He has me beat a little bit because he was at Dolphin first. And then he was at Glencoe, and then he was at Canadian Freightways, and then he was at, before it was Buyers, and then that was a yard across from TCC. Christy wouldn't know any of this stuff, so he's watching. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe he isn't, maybe he isn't. Maybe somebody went and disrespected somebody, and maybe you're just watching a YouTube stream. This isn't me getting soft or cold feet, and people can call me if they want. Maybe it's like a 6 o'clock kind of. They're calling other people. Maybe they're holding out. Maybe the boats weren't on the river up here for a reason. And maybe this whole chapter gets wiped out because I seen green lights all over the city, and they're green lit. And I never put the lights up, and they're all hiding. They're scared and they're hidden. They're still trying to make plays through somebody else that doesn't want any. Not the business owner. He's fine. He did nothing wrong. I do need to go get my car. I'll take a pedal bike. I won't bring my phone. See if they can figure out where I'm at. And the only people that get nervous are the baby boomers. My dad has nothing. I'm not going to ride my bike out there. And they're all hidden. They're all hidden on properties that nobody knows. Or they have their spy rooms. And the spy room is set up just to fucking spy on me. And everybody knows that they have them. I never went in one room in Valdic's house. I never went in there. And if I didn't steal nothing when you're on holidays. And it wasn't me. So if something was stolen, it was because somebody was sleeping around with Jason R. And he always a smooth criminal. He slept with my wife, and Preston did too. It's not her fault. She was told that I was somebody else, and I was a good man. And I never cheated on her until I didn't cheat on her. We separated when you moved in with Grandpa. We separated. And I was good. I didn't cheat on her once. And I know that for a fact. And my divorce package was good because it was basic. And Valdic pushed you into getting a divorce. Valdic's a no good motherfucker. And he's no good. He's just no fucking good. And he thinks he's going to get away with something? What's he going to do? Come over here and shoot me himself? He won't risk it. He won't risk it. I'll call his fucking bluff. I had a dream last night that I buried him. It was a dream. And it was just a dream. But I'm not going to because I'm not murderous. I'm smarter than that. Pat Haynes, got something set up for me. A trap out there, does he? Pat Haynes got something set up for me, doesn't he? He does. He wants me to go what? He wants my car to be towed? Pat Haynes, you're not a fucking cop. Just because you have a relative in there and he's not the one helping him. And he's just simply pushing his weight around. And he's caught in the act then. Because there's nothing in that car. That's illegal. There isn't. And what do you think, Pat? I'm going to go out there with work? You fucking stupid, Pat? Pat's a stupid man. He's simply a man that bosses around cops and tells them what to do. And he has blackmail on somebody. And the cowboy knows that I have the high ground on him. And if he handed me a shooter, it would never be him. And if I would, well, I wouldn't because, that's illegal and I'm not threatening him. And I don't know his middle name, so, and that's legally binding. So this is just me telling a story, and it's all entertainment sector. And simply put, the zeal for Queen and Country keeps me safe. And out here, and he's losing his fucking mind, Pat Haynes. He's thinking I'm not catching on to something. And simply put, I just caught on to something and I haven't been there yet. So maybe it's just there overnight. Maybe it's like that one joke I made up, and it's just a joke, so nobody get offended. It's like crooked cop on his first stakeout, waiting for the beer store to open. The crooked cop on his second stakeout, waiting for the liquor store to open. It's just a joke, and it's just a joke. And I'm the RCMP, they've never done me any wrong, and the government's never done me any wrong out here. Pat Haynes is just trying to, it's like when the police knocked on the door in Hospitality Inn when I was staying there for a month. I was just sleeping. I could barely hear it because when I sleep, I have a problem when I sleep. It's just simply I'm out like a light, and it's not really a problem for me because I sleep like a baby. But in 2255 East Transcanada Middle Suite, they were simply taking advantage of me big time. And Montana did. She stole out of my pocket, but I didn't mind because I was making money at the time. And my mom hasn't been doing that lately. She didn't touch the money, and she figured, yeah, I didn't, and I did a bit for a prop, and I'm not suicidal. I'm okay. And they simply put, they're being chin checked big time. These guys, and they're simply my dad's good because he did nothing wrong. And Pat Haynes, what do you got planned for me? Eh? Pat Haynes is simply trying to frame me up for something, or is he trying to force somebody to do something? This blackmail won't work. It won't work. No, it won't work. It just won't work. No, there's only one way, and what's he going to do? Because they're potentially spying on everybody. Because they could potentially be spying on everybody if they open the mic up for my cell phone on grade 8. Because somebody had a walkie-talkie, and there's no way he was getting caught anyways. I made sure of it. And he might have only told that to his brother-in-law, and he didn't. Dad doesn't know. And maybe he heard through his friends and then through rumored and folklore, because that's all it is now. And I'm above it, because I am. He's done nothing wrong. We're simply wondering who the fuck's starting fires around the Kamloops area, because I know what he does for work, and I haven't mentioned that at all. And because I think it was Buddy in Hawaii, and I think he's been doing it up and down the West Coast because he's trying to bring terror to people, and he's trying to be somebody he shouldn't be trying to be, because he's looking like a fucking tyrant. It just is under one dealerships where he got the starter, he inherited a fortune. He invested it, he divested properly, and he's got a portfolio. I sold off today, and tomorrow I'll sell more. So is it above or below 5,000? Is it less than 500 million? Well, some people know the truth, and other people know the truth, and I can trick the lie detector like it's less than 500 million. I'll tell you that right now. And well, some people know one thing. Some got friends in high places, and some people lose them, and some people got 80 plus club protection. And that's 80 plus club years, 80 plus years, and Ralph Barger was 83. He was too stubborn to die at 81. That's what I say. That's just something I made up. And there are men around that just want to sit down with Iffy and Pat, and they want to sit down with these guys, but they won't come out of hiding. They take a phone call, maybe. They won't even take a phone call. They're just sitting around waiting for me to be put in jail or killed. And nobody knows where I'm at. Some people know a voice, and other people don't know a voice. And nobody knows anything. And that's Keith is a hidden house angel. I mean, he's a rapist. He told me himself, and him and Veldick were finding reason to get along. And he cut my throat, and he owed me $1,500 for rent. I lent it to him, and I left there. And he's still hiding in that basement. I think somebody moved out, and if he's not hiding in that basement, maybe he isn't. Jake the Flake put up a camera, and Jake the Flake's not taking over. No, he's not. He can go back to fucking Calgary. I got the authorities to tell you to do that. Will you listen? Probably not. Because you can defer over to Iffy. And that's the other 4 kids that he never told anybody about. Or he had 4 kids, or he's adopted some 4 kids. And if somebody had to go sit down in Montreal twice out of Vancouver, he's got respect for that from me. Which is a hard thing for me because, well, maybe he never did me anything wrong. And maybe it's Chris Lamb the whole time trying to frame me up with her girlfriend, his daughter, out of Hawaii. And I think smart, because I am smart, simply put. And what Pat say? What do he say? He said that something's in there, or something, there's nothing in that car that's illegal. And maybe I just let it sit there because it's not illegal in the parking stall. Maybe somebody else goes to pick it up. Pat ain't called me in for not having insurance. There's insurance on that car. Nobody's on the plate. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Pat Ain's a fucking snitch is all he is. So that's what he is. He's a snitch. And he's a fucking snitch. And he is. He's trying to play big boss baller and order people around. Or ask for a favor. Or Pat asks for a favor. Maybe he asks for a favor. Maybe he doesn't get what he wants. Maybe that looks bad on Pat. Maybe Pat never rode around with insurance or out of insurance. Maybe I was the only guy riding around on a shovelhead with a hardtail. I didn't have insurance. And there was a picture I tried to impress a girl named Amy. And I put it up right after I talked to her. And maybe me and her miscarried. Maybe we do. And simply put, I didn't go to that funeral because Chris was supposed to call me. He was supposed to call me and tell me when it was. And maybe that's Chris fucking up tragically because I wanted to go to that funeral. And somebody at least told me by text that he told me. He knows who he is, and I didn't hold it against him. And we all miscarried, and well, who knows what happened to him? And I mean, there's either overdose or a hot dose. There's only two options. And Josh is either overdose or hot dose, and he could have potentially been upset about Garrett, but I don't think it doesn't look like he was using the stuff. I mean, I never knew him to use that stuff. I seen him, he lived with me in Eric's place, if he still has it, at the place in South Surrey. And he was there for a month and a bit. He had a bedroom on the far end, and I had the roommate below the stairs, right beside the stairs. And Eric knows who I am, and Chris can't say any of this stuff because he's not me. And Chris, you're just simply needing to shut your fucking mouth if you get interrogated. And if not, then that's not my problem. Because he's got nothing on me, and he doesn't. And nothing he can't remember, because didn't he hit his head at work? And he can't remember anything for disability, but he can try and make something up on me. He's not a CI. So if he is, it's not my business. And simply put, they want to try and use him against me. That's one person's brother who's retired, and somebody else is in the picture there because you two guys played it your way and he played it his way, and those are three brothers. They're not the same as the four brothers and one sister, different families. And it's not getting that serious, and the families are no risk. It's serious now because men in New York State and California are listening, and they can make phone calls, and maybe they believe me and not them. and nobody told me about Ronald. And Ronald's not the one doing it. And Ronald. And well, can't do nothing about it. I'm not fucking with him. Pissing off somebody else. Somebody else is under pressure. Chris, if you don't say anything, you might get probation. And you have a mental health issue and you don't remember things. And I'm not sending you out to the. I'm not your father, Chris, and I never was. And all you gotta do is call your fucking dad, and maybe he gets you out of some shit. Maybe he has that power. Maybe he does, Chris. And you don't want to call dad because you're scared of him. Well, that's his problem, because I've done nothing wrong that I couldn't talk to Allison about from high school. So, and that's saying something, because she knows me from school, and whatever propaganda was going around. But simply put, car can stay there for now, because maybe nobody was looking at it. Maybe somebody was. And simply put, well, one thing though, for sure is I'm stupid. So, because that was Ron and his brother and Pat's play. Not Ron. Ron was in on that one. Maybe it was. And it's gum. And are they gonna rat me out for being something they all know I am? It's called possession's 9/10 of the law, man. And Chris Gregoire doesn't want to call his father. His dad is Mr. Gregoire. I don't know his first name. I know he was Canadian Armed Forces. Maybe he's retired. Maybe he hasn't. I don't fucking know. And Dennis is upset his key broke and fell. Maybe Dennis isn't wanting in on that. Maybe he did get in on the next, me going to get my car. He's upset his key broke. And maybe he is a Hells Angel. Maybe he isn't. It doesn't matter. Nobody hit you. You want to get hit, actually? Like with a fist? Because I didn't punch you. You're not bruised. And you didn't have anything to do with it. You don't know what's going on outside of it. He's too young. He simply fixed his key and made an upset call. Or he was just acting. He didn't call anybody, probably. And I can understand that. Maybe I go back. Maybe that was a good joke. And maybe I'm just imagining things in my own head. Maybe they're thinking about doing something. Maybe I know how to stash something. Maybe she's not in the mood to get pissed off at people. She's been through the ringer. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. Nobody knows where I'm at because it's a green screen. Simply put, it is. So it could be anywhere in the hood, neighborhood. Some people know one thing. I can't remember what Chinaman once taught me a saying. Not the one from Richmond. And Illuminati all through my body. Something like 12-8 shot. And that's a Tupac Shakur rhyme. And I have the YouTube that says 0. Everybody else has one. It says 1. Where it's just going to a detachment. There's only one detachment that I don't like. It's the North Shore one. I don't like him. I heard Bri spreads around money like he's a king of the world. That's what I heard. I don't like him. Downtown, they're good people. I know that. Maybe nobody takes money at all at the North Shore one. Maybe it's still community policing. Maybe they got a boat. I don't like boats. And I went on a boat last time, and Valdik went too fast with my wife on the two. She was tough, and she was looking at me. That was Valdik testing both of us. That was Valdik being completely irresponsible with Kenneth McEwen's daughter. And it's not your daughter, Valdik. Maybe you try and look out for her, but she's not your fucking daughter. You got one in Toronto. You don't want to forget about that, do you, Valdik? I got a plan for next summer. And I got a plan for next summer. And other men, I got a plan for next summer. And I'll be around for next summer. And other men are just... Finally, I'm speaking my mind. And this is me speaking my mind. And maybe I wasn't framed up. Maybe I was. Like, not framed up for the mental health. Maybe I did take that yellow pill. I'm remembering it from 10 years ago. And it still makes my brain hurt. They were supposed to kill me. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think we ascertained that. Because we were having a party, and we probably figured out that there was somebody out at Edmonton. Or something, I don't know. Something, maybe we were figuring it out, but we're all too drunk to remember. And Pat probably doesn't remember even those pills coming to the door. I remember, no, this is Pat Clear. This is a different patty, and this is the only real patty I want. And don't worry, I won't eat it. And that's for the kids, because the kids might be watching. And me and Pat were tight. We were tight. And simply put, whatever I got up to in those 10 days or however long it was, I don't know. I probably embarrassed some people and shit. I made a prank call to Shawnee, and, well, I'm sorry. And she's probably over it, and I haven't seen her since. And I've seen her a couple of times, like she passed by in a vehicle, and that's it. Because this Kamloops is only so big, and it's Kamloops. We're a town. We're not a city yet, but people are gearing up for a building boom. Where there's no boats on the river this year, and there's no work being done at the city gardens. And city gardens, take away the IT and the GAR, and it's still city gardens. This isn't Wheel of Fortune. And there's simply probably just a reminder that I should do something on the internet because the whole fucking world knows who I am. And it's not that big of a deal because simply the Kamloops chapter's getting cold feet because they simply might be under investigation. And that's simply probably fake diamonds because they are. This used to be an earring, but it's got hearts in the eyes because it came from Montana, but it's like card hearts, not like honey hearts, like hearts from Montana would be alright, but they're like hearts like spades, diamonds. But we got hearts, spades, diamonds, and clubs. And maybe clubs was around a lot longer than the social club. Maybe it was. Maybe the social club came first, and maybe the motorcycle club came second. And maybe there's a reason some guys stand on their head in the closet. There's no closet in fucking jail. And I got that from a man who gave me a good recommendation about Sandy Watt. Maybe Sandy Watt asked me a question once in his lower patient privilege, and nobody needs to know what it was. Because maybe he's retired, or maybe he simply owns a law firm. Or maybe Jeremy Jensen was an excellent lawyer. He still is. And MJP lawyers, I don't think I've ever retained one from there. And I called and left a message for a lawyer. I simply put, waiting on a call back. It wasn't any of those lawyers I just mentioned. It was a May. And I think she's probably got a message, or maybe she didn't. Maybe I gave her the wrong number. Or did I leave my number? I think I did. And maybe it's a court date that simply, someone who protects this area with utmost intensity and no slack given to anybody is, it's not Training Day. It's a movie, good one. I'm not Alonzo because I'm not a goddamn copper. And I'm not Highland Valley copper. And that's a big part of the economy. We could go without the bikers. We can go without the coppers. And that's how I feel, honestly. And that's how it is. I mean, please do a lot of hard work. And I have a memory, and other men have great memories too. And simply put, some are sharp as a tack, and some are the tip of the spear for this area. And we're Canadians. And some men fight counterinsurgencies with certain things called some men are and some men aren't. And I simply put, I remember something from my youth that I never told anybody about at all because it wasn't true. And simply, some men want one people's way, some men want another. Some people, when I was in the hospital for the first time, were enjoying themselves and laughing at me. That would have been Ira and Kyle. Some people found it funny, and some people know this. I didn't defect on nobody, and I didn't do anything against my country's flag. It's a maple leaf. It's not a fucking death head. I'm saying that to not anybody from downtown, because it's simply a city in the works. We're working on being a city. We could be considered a city, but there's no 5 boroughs in the city. There isn't. And secretly, people have been moved in. And maybe he's there, maybe he isn't. And, or he's sitting in an RV out. Maybe he's got an RV outside. Maybe he's trying to emulate Cody, and he gets his motivation from sitting in an RV. And maybe I picked up a laugh from a man at the library recently, and he was a man with autism. And well, I did study the art. I didn't study him. I was too young to study. But in Dallas Drive at Bogatti, I was looking over a fence. Maybe somebody spotted me there once, and I'm simply where all investigations go to end. Or is that simply the man up the road? Because guy they acknowledge is a good man, and that's how I said it for years. And I never even told anybody my dad was guy until recently. So who's hiding behind their dad? Not me. And Chris Gregoire is Chris Gregoire, and I'm Cody Aiden, and there's no fucking two ways about it. And but I'm not an international arms dealer. I'm not an international drug dealer. I'm not an international anything. I kept a small scale, and that's how I outfox some brilliant minds in organized crime. Some men are they are brilliant minds in organized crime, but they are completely heavy-handed, and they were at one point, and they just don't get it. I'll never be on the Kamloops chapter's team, and I ain't part of the home team, and I ain't part of what is that one? Westwind Realty. No, I'm not, and I've never had any sit-downs and secret meetings, and I've never put the colors on. I never will. There's a closed-door secret meeting once when I was in elementary school, and that was Mr. Weatherhead, the teacher, and he taught us not to shoot paper clips at people because it could break the skin. I think he was teaching me a lesson not to be like my brother, because he was simply in the coast shooting people, and they might have heard that, but nobody knows how many guns he shot off. He told me once that he shot at guys and never stuck around to shoot at see if he hit him. I don't know. He was never caught for any, but that's a legend of him, and he was a legend to me, and it's probably that call I didn't take, and that was the nail in the coffin. It's one hell of a lie I told Kyle. I told another guy in the basement of the ground, and I'll figure out who did it. And I did it. I said it with reverence. One sec. She didn't care. That means she feels safe, and that's a good thing. Because this is just me content creating. And for all those that are in the Kamloops area, it's just a survey of my life, because I've done nothing I couldn't talk to Allison about from high school. And I mean, everybody in their man's best friend knows I'm a certain thing. And simply put, I'm here talking all day, so Pat's trying to get me thrown in jail for nothing, because Pat would just be a snitch, basically. Or he's thinking about trying to do something. Or his heart hurts again, because he did have a heart attack recently. And nobody wants to see Pat die of a heart attack. I don't. What happened to Brett Haynes? Because is that the same family, or is it a different bloodline? Because me and Brett were close. And what did Chris G do to Brett? That Brett didn't want to. Because I was there for Brett when he was at the hospital. And I was there for him. And what did Chris G do to Brett? Because who's Chris G become? And is he cutting the flesh off of people with a hot knife? Is that what he's doing? Has he become psychopathic? And he's just a puppet gang leader? Because he's not a nomad. Nomads don't dress in drag. Because somebody else doesn't either. And I never said anything about anybody from Warren's. And simply, he wasn't a worker of mine. And that wasn't my trailer. No, it wasn't. And simply put, other men need a lesson in reality. And Christy, who do you become, fellow? New strategies are you working on? As you even know? His mother would want to know that. And I seen it twice out of someone. And he simply left me a message there. Christy doesn't know Fox Cody Hayden in organized crime. Christy's an organized crime, and I'm just a small-time 2-bit drug dealer. I'm a retard. I'm a mental health patient. Chris T, just for your own records, we never dated, okay? So if you're doing drag, there's eyelashes on the building and someone got confirmation from it, somebody drove up there and looked. I didn't put in there. I had to go through the property because there's a brown bear on me. And that's the difference. So for the security feature, I don't fucking know. I had to look. And simply put, trespassing, serious. You guys are looking for any reason in the world to just make this stop. And I got friends in high places, and we never met. And that's a problem with you guys, because I don't do Valix. I don't do Valix fucking version of telekinetics. And me and him got along quite well, but he was simply there to call me, or Tony and Andy and Al got a little far fetched with how fucking powerful they are. And they simply took a piece when maybe Andy didn't, or he did. And he did, and he didn't need it. He's a hardworking man, straight laced. He's from Italy. And Al's simply in Saskatchewan. He's still got a piece with a legal paycheck. He didn't have to do a fucking thing for it because he was watching my back in Saskatchewan, was he? Or is he watching Steve Stack's back in Steve Stack in back in Saskatchewan? Because I never drove out there. I drove past him twice. He never seen me. That was going when he was going to Ben Rosie's, and when I was passed by him in Salmon Arm, he didn't see me. I drove right by. And I'm just saying, he's more Italian than me. He is, but I got Italian in me. You can see it. You can see it come out of me. And my grandma Denise had part Italian in her. She did. It's a ancient bloodline. It goes back way back to Rome. When Dad, you were related to somebody that was killed in the Senate. And so am I. Dad doesn't have better connections than me. I got better connections than him. There's not a fucking thing he can do about it. Because he had me framed up this past year. And he tried. I'm simply pissed off about his stuff. But I made it out because paper bag ended up somewhere in the trunk. And simply put, how'd that get there, Guy? And that's a body bag, is that you just being a scaredy cat. You're not responsible for any of those, though, Guy. Well, he's never told me about it. He told me a couple of things where he got across the international border when he was young, and he did it legally. Or did he do it legally? And he's not in any trouble. He doesn't have anything to worry about. He only has to remember when, because simply put, men from those two states are here, and they want sit-downs, and some men won't give them, and they simply know hot, cold, hot. And that's one of them. And some people not. Hopefully it's not Guido. That was from my mother. That was from Dougie Scholes and Bob Green. And oops, maybe it wasn't Ron Boucher. Maybe it was. I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe Bob had my back once when he started talking about what happened to me when I was drugged 2 times. Crystal Ann would be in big fucking shit. She's simply in big shit, and she knows it. She knows someone's daughter, and their little fun and games is over because she sleeps with Eric, Tony, and Jason. And those three, Eric's an angel, like a real angel from the Bible. And he's not a Hell's Angel, I know he isn't. And his dad would be proud of him for it. He's done nothing wrong. And he's a good man. And his Uncle Dave would take unkindly to anybody thinking otherwise. Tim Valero. And Donna's wonderful. She did my accounting for me, and she gave me my tax return. And she's wonderful. She's always been wonderful. She always will be. Hello. I'm gonna mute it while I eat because I eat like a saber-tooth tiger. Lights and sunlight's not on. They look whiter now. It's all perspective. I should floss and brush teeth. It keeps the Britneys away from me. All of them. I know 6 of them. I don't like any of them. They're simply they got too long legs and they go to the gym too much. And well, I don't like anything like that. And oh, dinner was good. I ate quickly. Simply put, my stomach acid is stronger than the rest of them. Because when I chew fast and I chew decisively because I'm busy. I don't have time to sit around and eat and be happy and pretend like you know, am something I'm not. Because I'm not a ruler. I'm not a meter stick. And kilometers and miles are different. And standard and poor, well, think about it. Standard and poor. Who's standard and who's poor? Well, Americans work on the standard system. And the one who started the standard and poor must have been very wealthy. Canada and the rest of the world is on the metric system. And I'm not rich yet. But let me tell you, I got to know everybody I got to know well from high school and elementary school. I simply be friends with them still. I don't have any sisters. Not one. Not one I would back up with anything. Nope, she's wanted me dead since day one, and she's been completely brainwashed. And Donnie took a beating from Brett, and he gave him more than a beating. He robbed him, and he probably enjoyed it. Too bad, he's gone. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't there. I didn't know what happened. I guess that is that what they don't like about you. I got friends in high places. I'm not worried about picking up that car. I just haven't gone up there. I don't feel like walking. I know what time they're open till too. Maybe I got money in my pocket. Maybe I do. It's in my bag. Maybe I keep everything on me. Maybe I don't. Maybe I stash it way away up my arsehole. Maybe they don't give me a tickle me pink when I. Maybe that's not what it's called. But maybe this time I stash it up there. Maybe it's just baking soda I got. Maybe a good person gave me a good thing, and I don't know how much it was because I didn't scale it. Maybe other men fact check, and other men know what it is to back check, and maybe I know how to respect, and I don't know how to hold a tech. Maybe Tech 9's bouncer sent me to hell. Maybe I got hit and I didn't even swell. Oh, he hit me all right. It was in the this side of the face, not this side. Didn't bother me one bit. I was looking to get straightened out, and he straightened me out. He shouldn't be in any trouble for it. If he thinks I don't, I appreciate it. I do. He didn't know who I was, and I didn't mind, because he's not in any trouble. Nothing that Uncle Genie can't fix, or Great Uncle Genie. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not a chicken at all. And I know he's still in New York State. He's probably not on parole, though. He got released. I didn't see that in the news article. And I'm the one who checks organized crime news once in a while on the internet. And that's the search that comes up for me. If there's anybody even, I don't think the Canadians have an NSA. And what they do in the NSA. And I was it was my voice that got me into a gated community once. And not the one I spent my 19th birthday at. Simply put. Something happened I don't remember. I'm sorry because I was wasted. And I'm sorry. And if everyone's all right, everyone's all right. And that was when I was 19. I'm 35 now, 16 years ago. And there's some 16-year-olds that know who I am. And they know my name's Cody Aiden. They don't know all this stuff from back in the day. Simply put, when I was 19, I was like a teenage mastermind. But that's a long time ago because there's 16-year-olds that don't know nothing about it. And simply put, I don't want any of them becoming lawyers or prosecutors or, God forbid, a judge and remembering these stories and wanting to shackle me to a goddamn jailhouse. Because this isn't Papignon. And my dad, that's one of his favorite movies. But he's from Quebec and he's from St. Hyacinthe. And he was a baptized Roman Catholic. Or that when they baptize you, do you have to be a Baptist? Or you use Roman Catholic, or the Catholic Church? When it was the Roman Catholic Church. I'm not the Roman. They took away the Roman because I'm simply like an asshole. I pucker up when it's time to insert. And I never had any fun like that. And the girls know something that they probably all have tried it because it's simply on their bucket list. And what age? Because it's not on all their bucket list. And generations change. And nope, never me. Never. Not a goddamn chance in the world. I got a pee hole and a poop hole. And they work for a reason. I would have asked Grandpa Harold that probably because I did most of my astute studying when I was in Richmond. I was in preschool, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. So I'm a little bit of a city hustler in a way because Brett Hayden, I don't know what he knew. I was smoking weed. He would tell me things, and he smoked weed too. He's my brother. I miss him. And some people at Crystal Ann, I remember one thing about you. My mother threw the clothing out the window of Heather Road because you probably wouldn't stop sleeping around. Or you wanted to see Bindi and she didn't want you to see Bindi. Maybe that's what it is. I can't remember because he was an older man and my old man probably wasn't home. Maybe him and Bindi got along. Maybe they did. Maybe they talked in private one day. He never came back. Maybe. Maybe not. I can't remember. I was too young. Maybe Bindi was never there. And maybe simply put, Brett told me stories of him because he was a guy. Well, they called it an assassination online, but it was a hit. And he was an organized crime figure. And he was a powerful man in his own right, but he was young. He was in his 30s. And he had a lot of action. But Brett Hayden was only 21 when he passed away. So Bindi made it to 97, and Brett made it to 2001, I think. I think it was 2000. No, that was the year of September 11th. He made it to 2002 or 2003. One of the three. One of the two. It wasn't 2001 because I didn't remember that morning when I seen it on TV. And September 11th, I remember that morning vividly because some do, and it's a tragic day and a traumatic day for a lot of people. And may they all rest in peace, the people that were lost on September 11th. And I was in grade 7 then, and that was when my family, me and my mom and dad, lived behind the greenhouses in Monte Creek. They would took the bus. So I was living there, and I took the bus to elementary school. So I was in grade 7 there. And that was my last year there. And I don't remember everything, but September 11th we just passed, and we're simply on the 1st of October now. So, and I don't pay attention to the time because it's just on the smartphone or it's on the computer. So, and it's the 10th month, which September's the 9th, and well, most kids probably don't pay attention to the time either at the date because it's on their phone. They look at it so much and they can check it. And I don't know, this is an iPhone. What is it? And some people know romance. It could be. Maybe she's thinking about visiting somebody in BC. Maybe she got family out here. Maybe she does. Maybe she's a wonderful young lady. And I wouldn't think, that doesn't even cross my mind. And simply put, my first girlfriend that I knew of, because I was smoking weed and I only had, well, maybe it was my second girlfriend then, because maybe it was. And I'm a little bit back. And it's backwards. I see that. No, it's not. That was from Montana. It's Cody Montana. Montana Cody. Cody Montana. And she's just a friend now because we're not actually dating. She loves me dearly and I love her dearly. And she just needs to go down to King Street Center. That place is set up for you. Don't worry about anybody saying anything about you. Maybe you get a brand new pair of teeth out of it. Not implants, but my mother, she's got, it happens. Nobody will even know. And I was offered to pay for it last year. I simply can't now because me took the money out of my pocket. Simply put, somebody extorted it from me. Was that Ashley? She wouldn't dare do that, would she? Is that how Mark bought that car? Well, Mark's locked away now, and Mark was honest with me once, and I appreciate that. And well, Mark's not a perfect man, and he's simply going to do good time this time. Mark, don't drag Ashley through the ringer because you're in jail. Play cards. You know, you're going to stew on some things. Well, I'm not your enemy, pal. And we never were enemies. And it was always, probably, we're both crooks, so naturally it's the police. And I play cops and robbers. And I just didn't get into fucking pissing off the police so much. And I was the opposite. I played it differently. I just was very respectful and honest. And I've never slept with a police officer, never once. And I probably never will, because it would be going against the grain. And, well, the grain would be, well, it's a difficult thing, and maybe it was, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was. And, well, some people when I was in grade 9 knew me to be quite grumpy and not in the mood for anything, especially not smoking weed. And I didn't want to be in the car, and I didn't want to be near anybody because somebody was older than me, and somebody got his license first. And maybe I was in grade 10. I can't remember. I was pissed off. My dope line was turned off. And I had one partner once. It just didn't work out. And that's all right. Things don't work out. So people end up managers or GMs, and God bless them. I hope nothing but the best. And it's always nothing but the best for me. And simply put, when some people are young and people grow old and they just wish the best for people, that's called being grateful for who they did know. And being I could say one thing about a man named Brett, and would think of somebody that we met together. And guess what he did to me when I was sitting down for a meal, free meal at Ask Wellness out back? He snapped at me to leave. He snapped at me to leave, and he thinks he's just a astute young man. Well, he's simply a man that probably still does something on the side, and he's still in the dope. And he's the reason Ashley Matthews is on it. And he got her hooked, and he probably finds that a fun thing. And it's not fun to be on the fentanyl, and it's not fun at all. It's simply chemical warfare, as far as I can tell. And it's like smoking sleeping powder. It's what it is. And some people nod off because they don't want to listen. Some people fucking hate the Hells Angels in this province. And some people are just being killed off because they mix their dope too fucking strong. And and I went into learn something about the dope game that I didn't already know about the fentanyl. Because when I was slanging it prior to 2010, one thing that was different, there was no fucking heroin, or there was heroin on the streets, and there's no fentanyl in the game. None. And since I've gone back to it, people have died off left, right, and fucking center. We just lost Sandy last year, and she was a legend to me. And just because I knew her, and I knew her not super well, but I knew her back in the day, she knew me, she took care of me best she could, because a little thing called, she bought through people that I knew, and I never dealt with her too much, only a few times really, to be honest, but she was always, happy to, purchase through me. And the Cameras chapter is just in there basically, except for one man, Denny. He's nothing to be ashamed of at all. If he's found the YouTube, maybe he hasn't. Maybe some people instructed him to find it after. And maybe he's just a working man. Maybe he is. And it's just a goddamn key. And well, I would pay for it. And there's no reason for us not to like each other. That's the whole purpose here, is that I have, personal problems with these men that the only thing they ever did to me, Andy, Tony, and Al, was rip me off for 21 years. They made on every fucking dime bag I ever sold. And they're not known to be drug dealers. And I figured them out. And they're pissed off. And they should be pissed off. Because I'm even more mad. And if I ever met Tony in person, I'd fucking smack the tit of his mouth. And he's simply not a Hells Angel to me, because I didn't know that. And it would be a surprise to everybody else if he was. So why the fuck is he taking out something off of guys? Why is he chiseling off a fucking check? There's something from a movie called Gangs in New York, because he's a probably respected man, but I would never sit down in the same room with him. So if he wants to sit down with me, it can be Denny's. And any fucking time of day, fella. You got my number. 778-698. 694. You know the other four. He already knows it. Why is that? And that's the only number that certain men know. And Trevor did message me back, and he's got the same number on his plate. He doesn't know. And simply put, some men are here in secret. And some men are just, they don't want to get to know me anymore, because they think this is what? Tattletale? And this is me discussing my life. And I'm simply quiet in person. Some people do all the talking because that's how they are, and I just let them talk because, hey, Trevor does got to do all the talking, and I got no problem with him. But is he still being a racist on the weekends on somebody else's internet? Or is he still in love with Sid F, and is Scott still in love with her too? Because she's simply not somebody you can be in love with, because it's an open relationship, and that's her punishment. She's still dating me, and it's her protection too. She has a father, and I met him, and I did my best for her. And you could tell I was trying to be getting a little frustrated with her, but she's well behaved up until that point. But she was sharing a Snapchat with somebody else. And that simply goes right back to India, or it goes back to Surrey. And you guys are caught red-handed. And simply put, don't worry, sweetheart. The Indians aren't taking over. The East Indians aren't taking over. They're not. They can reinforce their position all they want. But when you go further north, they stick out. And there's very few careers up north with them. And simply put, they're not wanting to get rid of the Hells Angels altogether. You guys have done a good job in this province. It's simply the Cameras chapter I have a beef with. And I did drug myself, I remember now. And I simply didn't go crazy. So they just didn't know I took it. I took it in secret. And the men started acting, why I started acting so strange. Well, I took that yellow pill that we weren't supposed to take, and I lived because it was poison. I lived through it, and they got on with a little thing called their own brainwash, because they drugged me multiple times. And Chris G wasn't around then, and we were doing Lissolis on activated products. Jeff and Pat Cleary were helping me, and they did help. They did a great job. We had a little buzz going. It just didn't turn into money. And if program computing Pat still has a computer, it's out of respect. And it's all good, because if you hand it in to the teacher, it's still you hand it in. possession is 9/10 of the law. You didn't do anything wrong, Pat. We haven't seen each other since. And well, you guys just were unhappy to see me back because I was a strong leader, and I probably did some things to piss you guys off when I took a pill that I shouldn't have took. But I can't remember because it nearly killed me, and I lived, and I was literally brain wiped. And when I got to the hillside, a couple men came to visit, and I appreciated that. And I simply haven't changed much. I'm back to my normal self, and people just want a leader. And well, I'm not a leader of any of those men anymore because they all went to a different team, and I'm my own team now because they were doing teams when I got to last year. And who's going to say, oh no, I'm not? Who's that? Randy? Randy's the deciding factor on that. Who are you going to talk to? Mario Andretti? Is he going to be the deciding factor on that? He's not going to care what I do as long as I'm probably safe, happy, and whole. And I got an uncle named Mario. Mario's towing simply probably after Mario Andretti, I would guess, because I don't know a guy named Mario, because I know my uncle. My uncle's a good man. He thought I was French Italian Mafia, or was he? Because he was at my only wedding, one wedding, and I was married to Catherine McEwen. And the Iron Lady is the Iron Lady. And maybe a different Margaret you were named after. Maybe you're mourning the loss of a great actress or an actor. I don't know what she went by, but may she rest in peace. And she was probably the Queen probably loved her work, and I don't know a lot of it off by heart, but I know I've seen her in some movies before, and she's even been in a spy movie, I think, a movie about spies. I don't know when the one about Bourne Identity when he hit his head. Well, Randy just hit his head, and Randy needs to think about trying to shut me down, pal. Because you see the olive coming out of me when I get mad, and you're not a guy that can shut me down. Would you run that by Carson? Why would he? Make no sense. Buck stops when you guys the lies are at the table, and he's a guy that probably has met Mario Andretti, and he's a popular man. Why would he want to shut me down? He's not a Hells Angel. He's a secret one. Always one of these secret ones that hangs out. Because they don't hang out, they hang around, or they did it one time. They're all seen by the old birds. And some people want to be on my side, but they can't be. Because they simply did something called tax me $2,000. He did. He did that by himself. And I sent him an email on the May 17th this year. And that young man tried to human traffic me by himself. Well, there's a brick hole. There's a brick. Doesn't make me scared, no, because there was a hole in the wall. I opened up the wall with the castle doors, and I opened and seen it. And somebody put a fan that I never asked for in my suite, and there's a puddle there. It's a team building exercise from Adam to clean up the water together, because you guys are simply what? You have college degrees, and you guys got into human trafficking to make up for the pot money that you're missing out on. You guys fucking sick in the head. I want my fucking cat back, and I ain't asking. I'm demanding it. And there's men here that want to sit down with you guys, but they won't sit down with people's sons who aren't grown men that don't understand what the fucking sit down is about. So you Cameron's chapter guys want to get tough. Why don't you get together and sit down with the real men that are in town? Because you guys are simply rich and you don't have criminal records. Doesn't mean you can push me around. You guys want to stick up for Steve, Adam, and Sunil? Because the fan said, blow me on it. And you could I seen it through the glass, the fucking, not like prison. Like prison, there's a glass. Me and old man had to sit down once in prison. We got the big suite. And we are G's. And he's a biker G. He could be pushed out of Kamloops with gangsterism too. He isn't in the Kamloops area. And this isn't 12 Monkeys. That's just a cell phone case. It's a magnifying glass. But and simply put, the mood of the room has changed because it's a different lighting, and it's cold in here because the window's open. And I'll learn how to breathe so my ears don't go red. I'm simply still mad about when she stole my blanket. And between now and then, what they have tried to do to me because they're jealous of my childhood. Because I made a good call because they got something done beforehand. And he's been like Iffy's son since, and he went his way. And if he built something since then, and if he won't sit down with anybody now, because he's waiting for me to be killed, or he's waiting for me to be shot at, or he's waiting for me to be put in jail over nothing. Some people drove by that car, and they're not closed yet, and I just haven't gone down to pick it up. Maybe I push it back. Maybe I'm stronger. It's like when in an emergency situation, somebody's faster than they need to be. It was me that ran across the fucking beach. It wasn't Jason R. If anybody said it was, I will personally yell at him in person. I remember the day like yesterday when I stood up to him. He was fatty then, Fatty, and no PH there, pal. You were overweight and you got a nip and tuck, and that's the bottom line. I said that to Garrett Getz once, and he did something to me at the strip club that I didn't care about because I was looking for you and you disappeared. And he simply had nothing to do with me being a teenage mastermind. He was just a fish that pretended to be tough. And there's men in town that want to sit down with this cannabis chapter and they won't even come out of hiding. It's simply cold, hot, hot, cold. And these are the kind of guys you can't call the cops on because you know what happens then. So, and it's probably not Jeannie. So he's probably comfortable at home. And he probably maybe he's out in RV now. You want to make sure that the lights worked out there just in case he's got someone coming out for a visit. And I don't talk this much in front of the old timers. I always listen to them, and I got respect because Brent Keane said that mountain was his. He was talking about Comazito. He said that to me in private. And I think I noticed something about him when I brought Catherine to visit him. He met her first before Grandpa Wayne. I knew she'd get to know Grandpa Wayne. I knew that was just a matter of time. Maybe he didn't like that, but he probably didn't know. He's not here anymore now. So, and, I loved him, and he was like my biological grandpa because I never met my original one. So, and he was back east, and he was holding it down, as they say in the rap music. And he simply was something my old man didn't know he was until I broke the ice on him. And I'm not trying to ask him out on a date, Dad. He's simply a good man, and you have nothing to worry about. If anybody knocks at your door, it'll be out of love and respect. And there's olive coming out of me a little bit because I'm part Italian, and so is he. And he doesn't get it. And I know. And nobody's paying child support for Johnny and Uncle Mario and Uncle Serge and Auntie Patricia. I might be able to get it out of him if I beat him at poker, but it's probably not going to happen because if it's with the old guys, they'll fix the game up for them to win and me to lose because he ain't paying child support. And that's a fucking fact. Because if he's still around, he's hidden. And it's a secret because Grandma Denise was she's not gonna pump her. Maybe maybe she didn't sneak in a pump. Maybe Grandpa. Maybe she had she had a son. She's not gonna pump, and then she had 2 more sons, and then she came out here to have Auntie Patricia because Auntie Patricia was born in British Columbia. I don't know the whole family history, but when you think about it. There's something going on there. Maybe they already know. And there's a picture on Instagram. Instagram, Instagram, not Graham Cracker, not Graham, like Graham Loxbury, no, Graham. Could shovel some snow this winter and get out of work. Great, good Graham, and we could just play basketball like buddies, and that's all you'd have to do. You wouldn't even have to appear in this, as long as you don't listen to Jason R. Because he's a fish. I'm mobbed up to the gills like a shark. Some go in, I go out. No, I go in. I don't go out. That's my thing. Nobody gets to do it. It's not even allowed. It's forbidden. And I'm not the thought police, but you can't think of me right now. And Patrick and Rich, that was my idea. And it was. And period. I found it. That's that. I'm happy just doing me out here. And nobody needs a knee-jerk reaction. That's a money man thing. And I have them on a hanging desk whether I have to whittle one out of a log myself. And somebody told me about something they're doing in South America, and it's a nice idea. Only so few know what that is because I don't whittle. That was Carver, and he was in Saskatchewan. And I got a great memory. And cease. I don't cease to exist. And somebody said something to somebody, and nobody knows who that is. And Ryan, it's okay, pal. You haven't had a girlfriend in a long time. You introduced me to Caitlin, and not Bruce. Different man. I watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians when I lived in Vancouver, and I did. And I liked that show. It was good, but I lay there and watched by myself. I didn't do a fucking thing to anybody down there. I socialized with one girl down there, and one girl that cut my hair. That's it. Because I don't like Vancouver girls. I love them. They're all awesome. I don't like Chris Lan Graham. That's your father's last name. What he did to her. And my mother, I don't know. My mother probably was at work. Or she was forced to be there. I don't know. They should both see that therapist. And my mother should. And she offered to go to a therapist once after Brett died. And I said no. I had to use probation. They helped me through. And it's okay to go to youth probation and youth forensics. It's okay. It helped. I know. I think this was us. Brian up there. He's good, Brian. Brian's a good man and a stout man and a good man, like Walter. Walter's a stout man too. and they both got office jobs, and they're both smart men. And maybe one's retired, maybe the other hasn't. But he's a businessman. One was a free man. He didn't get become a free man until he retired. Or was he a free man early? And we both looked at him for a reason, because we found him, and you ain't getting out of it. We found him, and you ain't. And I hope to God you're not, because that would be one interesting thing. And you're not. You're a Polishman. And well, how to break the news to him. And I always thought that he was laying off envelopes with you. And that's how he got into Newfoundland. And no, he's just like a son to you. So I understand. And that was just my guess. I was wrong on that one. Because the Freemasons don't fuck around with that. Because you imagine the cottage industry that it would be if they took envelopes from the bikers around here. Well, it would be cottage industry, but they don't. They're Freemasons. They're all legit, and they're not hidden. Because there's a big sign in front of, on the building downtown, there's a G there. And it's for God, maybe, or God-fearing, or God-feared. God feared the Freemasons. Maybe that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean Guy. Maybe it's a sign for Guy and Mom to move to town and enjoy part of the party, because you're simply famous, you two. Because of me, and not Crystal Ann. No, she's the opposite of famous. She's in shit, and she's shamed. Because her cookie business probably went, she doesn't need the money. Because, or somebody else told everybody they have to buy, because he simply isn't in control of me whatsoever. And if he does Sophie there, telekinetics, I won't even say that word anymore. It makes people that are too young to know, they're just, the USSR and the CCCP, it failed for a reason. And it's 91, if the Cold War ended. That's when the wall came down, and that was the end of that, because Valdek's simply playing a game, or I'm just picking up on him trying to play a game with me, and you threw me $7.50, I threw it back at you. That was no big deal, fella. It's just money. And he's not a fella. He's not a red fella. Nope, he's not. He hasn't heard that one yet. That's from a book. And maybe Ronald is not shamed. Maybe one is. And maybe, I know, Recon Ron. Maybe he's been doing recon. Maybe he's a big man, tall man. Maybe he's smiling at me. He's laughing at me. I can't remember. Maybe he's pulling a double cross on somebody he don't like. Maybe he is, as long as it's not the Surrey president, because he's a good man. He's tried mentoring me slowly through the years. And they're not getting any head starts, because Hawaii is a long ways away, and those two men would have a man nervous if they worked together. Maybe they know each other from closed door sit-downs. And maybe Bob Green didn't die for nothing. Maybe I got one thing wrong, and maybe they were ambushed because they were just simply there, the dope grow or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe they were ambushed by Sri Lankan men. Maybe it wasn't Ron. Maybe we got a problem on the shorelines here. Because I seen a video once of some truckers crossing some semis. They looked like they were just happy that there was a road closed. Maybe there's men from India that are organized criminals that don't want anything but the best for Canada and North America. Because there's men from Mexico that want the best for a man in Canada. And simply put, I'm just a man, but I'm cut from the underworld, and simply just talking my mind. And they're all Mexicans to me, and I could be the Mexican if you want. And I simply was down there, and I danced with a young lady, and I don't ever dance, but I didn't take her home either. So I was down there by myself, and I held my own well, and simply put, I thought he was going to kidnap me, and we were right to the left is Paradise City, and to the right is, on the way home, is another place you want to end up in the wrong car. And I was pretty peaceful when I was there, and I seen the Marines with the mask on, and I was concerned about Mexico because, peaceful is nice, and gangsters kill gangsters. That's pretty much how it is everywhere in the world. And people can get over that. Families, they mourn them and all that. But if you believe what happened to me with Brother Brad, it's true, because it is true. I was the nail in the goddamn coffin for him. And he just needed his brother that day, and I should have. I guess that was me getting revenge on him for throwing Mom down the stairs. That's one of my first memories in Richmond, when Dad and her broke up. And Dad was out hanging out with his friends, doing what he wanted. And Mom had two different places. She was a woman with two places, and she didn't sleep with either of them probably. And she might have got back at him for maybe something that she didn't do, because Gerald Granger said something, and he was probably wrong when I had that red Buick and come up from the coast when I was renting cars, because I had a care card out, and Jerry Granger said something that The dad ordered a call girl when he was in the truck. Well, he didn't. Jared Granger, you just got that one wrong. And mom isn't having an affair. It's over because she doesn't need to steal my steroids because I might have a fight on the horizon. And I can knuckle up pretty good. And I'm a good fighter. And I got one down the middle, 1-2 that's gonna knock out most men. I mean, most of them right on the chin. They're going down. I don't care who you are. If you don't see it coming, it's called a defense. And some men have been in mixed martial arts, and I'm a force of nature. I haven't lost a fight yet, and I haven't been in one in a long time because I'm not out of shape, and I simply was on the long walk to go nowhere this summer. And it was great until Scotty passed away, and that's what Preston did to end it. It's never over between me and you, so don't forget it. I know what you did. I think I know what you did, and you simply will die in prison, hopefully. I can't put you there, but I don't care about you ever. And you aren't my cousin. You're not related to me. You're not a Hayden. Whatever last name you go by, you should use your mother's. And Preston's a disgusting human being. If that was him, we had an argument. If it was him with red hair, and if it is him, he has a window washing business. Well, did you sleep with my ex-wife? Maybe he didn't. Maybe they met once. Maybe they did. And maybe they didn't sleep with each other. Maybe not. I wasn't at that funeral. I was busy in town. I say my first marriage went because of the poker table online. Imagine 792. I made no money, none. I went into debt, and I'm still paying it off. I've stopped paying the credit cards because, well, I'm simply going to be sodomized or killed or human trafficked or raped. I guess that would be sodomy. Anything, cameras traffic or anything, because they're simply waiting for them to make a phone call somewhere. One of them has a number for back east. It's a Rizzuto crime family, and they don't want to call because Brian doesn't want to fess up to what he did. He told them off, or he just stopped paying them. And, well, I don't know. But that wasn't hearing once. But it was simply, there's a hearts and layers from cards. It's hard to tell from a distance. Some people have the kind of camera that can zoom it in. Some people are getting good with that clicker. And something hasn't changed. And I'm simply a good man. It's content creation. It was from Montana. Cody, Montana. Montana Cody. And simply put, it's either CM or MC. And it's simply not Marine Corps or a motorcycle club. It's just Montana Cody. And it's not either, or it's not a club or motorcycle or Corps Marine. It's Cody Montana. And we're not dating, but she'd be proud of me. And you just got to go to the Act Street team. And you don't get to say anything, Bacon Sr. You in Hawaii don't get to keep your greatest assets away from anything because they're simply on your land or they're on land that you know. Well, you should be ashamed of yourself if you're keeping her from the Act team. I would break every law in the goddamn world if it meant for you to go down there. Just go talk to him. Just go talk to him. You don't need ID. You don't need ID. You don't need ID. They'll help you out. They will. They're set up for it. Just don't talk to a girl named Nikki. She's Chrissy's friend, and I know it. No one but her. She's just not good. She's set up to say no to you. And that's their defense. And they're surrounded by women that are good women there. She's been caught. She's working the night shift. Too bad for her. She simply has to work, and I get to sit here and talk. I didn't make a sale today. And weighs as much as a pack of hamburger. And I'm simply 35, and some men wish they were out here. Some men are. And you better hope he's not out here because he'd want to sit down with somebody. And if he sees me, it'd just be one of these. I know how to take a smack in the face because I played, what is it called in football? Coach Dino. And the slap game. Well, it hurt, but I took it like a man. And it was a mission football. I was there. And two girls were outside, and I was at the bus by myself. And they look like they're having fun. They're probably lesbians. And why have all the women turned to lesbians? Because the men are bugging out in this country? Because they're jealous of me and my teenage youth? Is that what it boils down to, psychology? Well, Dr. Leslie is working on her new package for a mental health disorder. Well, I'm not it. I'm pretty smart. I still went through all those tragic times. And, well, she's not working on anything except holidays, and I know that. She's a wonderful doctor. And I don't wear camo anymore, and I'm simply dead against it because camouflage is great, and it's simply, I'm not Hunter's Corps. And I do need to go to the store, but they're open till 9 or 8. Well, I'll tell you one thing, I can ride my bike there quicker than I can drive. Unless it's a Camaro and it's a straight shot, I can get there quickly. So I still ride my pedal bike around because it's mine. I bought it legally from a couple in Juniper, from Juniper, in the fucking passion, have the parking lot in front of Shoppers Drug Mart, right by the wonderful people who make excellent sushi. And they're Korean, wouldn't you know? Some Koreans know how to make sushi. They have sushi in Korea and they have sushi in Japan, but Japan's where it came from. And there's a war that happened there, the Russian and the totalitarianistic, militaristic, or whichever, the Japanese from the Rising Sun. And there's a movie, a Steven Spielberg movie about that particular time in history. It's excellent. And people need to watch those movies from way back because they're simply excellent. And I think Hollywood spent a lot more money on the movies than they used. Though they spend money now, but they don't get as much of a return with such streaming services. I do my content for free, and I know how to focus. I know how to focus. I know who the Duchess is, and simply put, I know I have fans around the world, and I don't know who. I can't tell you what. I don't like brushing my teeth. It keeps the women away, and all of them, and it's good because I keep doing my thinking. And some people have done my politicking for me, and in places where it counts, and they would be really upset to hear that I got gunned down or put in jail for nothing. I don't, and the police, if they catch me, then hey, it's not catch me if you can. I never did any counterfeiting. So someone tell the Secret Service, I don't want any beer tickets, okay? Because I ain't connected out there, and I'm not. So, and they handle counterfeit stuff, and the Secret Service protect the president too. How do I know that? Because of my study. And simply put, no, not never. He's senior. He's not senior. He's seniority, and you see, seniority gives you something called privilege, and the 80 plus club isn't coming into, and they have nothing to worry about because they haven't done anything wrong to me, and they haven't, and they've always looked out for me. But in BC, apparently they know how to see is over the Rocky Mountains, and everybody does see over the Rocky Mountains. I know they do, and the CPD would know that Ashley, she's wonderful, but she's simply caught in the act. She's simply doesn't care. And how would I know? Second generation. How would I know that, Ashley? How would I know? You never told me. You told everybody about. She's just getting away with something everybody knows. And Mark knew that already, and he did. And Mark didn't do anything wrong, really, that I can't forgive. And certainly certain guys from Calgary out causing a stink. And one of them, Jake, he gave something to someone that's a friend. And there's another woman in the front seat. Is that Lori? Is that who's yapping on me that day? Does she know about that RV? How long it's been there? Is that Lori yapping? Does she know anything about that RV? She probably doesn't. And Lori probably wants me dead now. And Lori did something to my guy out in, or maybe she didn't and he made that up. Maybe she did and it just didn't hurt very much. My guy out in Clinton, and he's a little further away now. Does Valdick think he got him too? Because Jared, he's been around the world. And he literally was over in Southeast Asia. He told me, and he wasn't lying. And maybe he's not. Maybe he's a Leo. Maybe he isn't. There's a land of Leos. You can see it in the goddamn geography. And I'm on August 22nd, baby, because I'm a Leo and a Virgin. And for the amount of tail I've knocked down or taken down, I've never hit or raped a woman once. So someone was forced to call, and that was Sid Ev, and she was forced by Valdick, probably right in front of him, because Valdick turned into a Soviet overnight. And he raped her with his son, and raped her with his son. That's what he did, and that's not good for business, because there's only one Waldick, and he did it, and she doesn't need to live through the trauma of being my girlfriend and that happening to her and not him getting in shit. And he doesn't know who's around in this valley. He hopes there better not be any of those guys. If Guido's around, he ain't coming here to beat me up. And if I had to take a beating from Guido, I'd take it. And guess what? I would know not to fight back because I'm not stupid. and the last moment of violence was done when I was a teenager. And I must have put a licking on those young men, and I did. And I one time I fought at the pits, and I was going after a guy, and they kicked me in the head and everything. They didn't do nothing. So I had it focused, and I was wanted to beat him in a fight, and I let him know what's up. I was drinking whiskey. I don't drink whiskey because Uncle Johnny drank whiskey, and nobody was Uncle Johnny. And the men remember that because he must have been on hunting trips with you guys, or he only went on one hunting trip. Gerald Granger's a good man, and the auto wrecker, Dinky Donnie, was my first taste of extortion, but I never extorted him. I still owe him for half a blazer, but he might want to tell me why the heater core blew out and things started spilling from the passenger seat. Ask Sam, he was there. Sam's fault. Maybe it is Sam's fault. And well, Sam has to, because Sam's tough. And I never meant to hit him in the air. I just did. And I remember two shepherds. I never met him. Well, we met once at Denny's, and I said nothing. I didn't. We sat at the first street, first stall. When you first walk into the right, to the left, left, and right there. I remember that because I was there. Was Chris there for any of it? Well, he was there for some of it. And I did train him for a little while. I asked him if he wanted to come to town and help me sell drugs, and we moved to the Hospitality Inn. He did. I stayed there too. We had 2 beds, and I didn't have a sleeping issue then. I slept like no problem. And now, since I had that injection at Hillside, well, I don't blame the police, and I did, bend over and take it. Not necessarily, but I just baited him into that because it wasn't the nurse, it wasn't the doctor, it was Valdick having too much power, and he simply regrets it because he snuck something in there, and maybe there's a case to be had. Well, I'm not too worried about it. I'm simply trying to get disability, and if it doesn't go through, maybe that was too heavy of stuff. Maybe if it does go through, I get disability. Maybe it still was too heavy of stuff. It's not Dr. Degg's fault. I know that. It's nobody's fault at that place. And I think Valdick abused his power that day somehow. And I am part WAP. And I am. My Denise was 5 or 10%. Would you believe that? My mother's and Tracy and Trina and even Jason comes from Shane, and great Uncle Shane was a legend. I remember him one trip, and one trip from wherever he picked up his trailer, and we drove up the Old Merritt Highway, and I was just a kid, and it was one of the few times I spent for a long period of time with great Uncle Shane. I think he, maybe liked to drink, and maybe I'm not sure I passed away. Maybe it was cancer too. I think it was. I can't remember. My mom would remember him well because she simply loved him, and she loves great Uncle Johnny too, because that's great Auntie Pat's new, squeeze or love. And well, they never married, or if they did, I didn't hear about it. But they're common law too. And my marriage was done quickly. It was under fire from the beginning because Valdick planted the seeds in Philippines for it to be ruined, or he didn't, and he wanted me to have a good marriage. Well, I had a good marriage, Valdick. It was all right. There was no problem. But was I supposed to be somebody else the whole time, or did you guys have a little brainwash plot idea that's not working out? Because I'm Cody Hayden, and that's the only fucking thing about it. And I'm not Chris Gregoire. I did ask him to come to town to help me sell dope way back when, and I did. And he took a fall like a man, because I didn't get pinched. And he took a fall like a man, and he was meant to get bumped up to just handling all of not Vancouver but Kamloops. And he took a fall, but he called Ron, and Ron handled the lawyer. And he should have called me because I knew something was funny. And I was just, Jason was under investigation too, and he did something to get out of something. And Chris didn't do anything. And that's why he's a nomad now, a secret one. He's supposed to get back in with me so he can watch me and bait me and do what my dad did to Owen. And Owen never died by a key's hand. So maybe Mike is in jail for what he did. I don't know. I wasn't there. And I was never interrogated for that because Owen was my friend. And I was up there as a friend to help him out. But simply put, he wouldn't give me a deal on fucking weed either. Because those guys always treated me a certain way. Those older generations. Like I was a cash money hustler. And if he would have just gave me a cheaper deal, it's probably my crew still fucking buying off him. Maybe not. There's no way to know. And I brought up like $10,000, and I had one time I was up there and I simply had savings, and I sold the pack for nothing. I sold it to Ben, and I didn't make any money on it. I didn't even think I paid for gas to come down from there, and just to get rid of it because he wouldn't give me a break, and Ben wouldn't fucking give me more than I asked. So who's price fixing what, and what fucking Hell's Angel was in on that? Because Owen's not here anymore. So maybe he was a member, maybe he wasn't. I didn't think he was, but maybe he was, and he was there price fixing through Valdick's little fix of telekinetics or something, maybe. But who ordered him gone? I always suspect it was out of Edmonton, but there's no way for me to know that because they don't tell me nothing. So I'm just speaking my mind. And I simply didn't kill him, I know that. So maybe Chris didn't. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. I don't fucking know. Somebody put, why was there a knife somewhere? Why did you know about that? Simply put, well, it wasn't me, it wasn't my dad. If the Greedos are here, well, maybe they are. Some men shouldn't have anything to fear. Maybe they don't. Maybe they are. I don't code. I'm the hack and the hackers. I'm literally the hack. I studied it once. I told Chris I was going to learn how to hack. He didn't believe me. I was going to learn, but I didn't want to learn how to code, so I did it better. I simply got popular on the internet. And, well, I'm still laughing like that autistic young man I seen in the library when I was there this past summer, and hopefully he's doing all right, because I care about the autistic, and I do. And I watch them pretty closely as a young man, and it was always kind of, I don't know, interesting listening, but it wasn't, I wasn't, I was just interested in helping them out, and I guess at a young age, and I made some things in the front lawn there, and this is simply a way to get moisture, and I was learning about that at a young age with toothpicks and something else, I can't remember. I fell asleep in a closet once. My old man figured I was in the house, so he never called the cops. I was sleeping in the closet with a blanket over me. They never found me. Me and my brother Brett plotted something on the coast, and maybe his idea, maybe it wasn't me, because I was hiding in the laundry hamper thing, and he was on the phone, and maybe it was when he called the cops, because I didn't break the fucking code of silence, because brother Brett, I probably told Chrissy where Grandpa Hayden's money was for the boat, and she told Brett stole it. He offered me $50. And I laughed. We laughed when the last time I seen him before he came back to town, and Chrissy didn't get in any trouble, but he got kicked out of the fucking house for it. And he had some go money. Well, not go money, but he had some money, some kick money for, kicking some ass. He did some of that. He was feared in juvie, and he knew somebody's older brother, and they were feared. Some men listen, and they don't understand because they're not from Vancouver. They came from a different place, and he was here in the 60s, and he started a successful place. And that's his pride and joy. And simply put, it's still his. And, well, what's said is said, but what's thought is thought. And obviously, it's still yours, man. Jesus Christ. No, I don't want one of your trucks. No, I can't be bribed or bought off. And there's no buying me off. It ain't fucking happening. Not for $1 million a second do I become one of those. And there are those because they're not of me. And it's not bad PR for some of you. And some people got it. Pat was right there at 2255. I did a good advertisement for the Hells Angels. And, there's no Hells Angels in BC. If they come through the border from Alberta, or they flew in, maybe they took a boat from St. Laurent or whatever, and maybe Keith is maybe he isn't. Maybe I tapped him out last year, tapped him right out. I never hit him. Maybe he wanted to stand up to me. Maybe he does. Maybe I pulled out a torch on him, and woo, scary. Maybe I got somebody else with a small lighter too, and it was a 22. And he's a good man because he remembers it and he knows this is going on because I gave him this to watch so he could do surveillance of my parents, and he's a good surveillance man because he's an Italian Canadian. No, he's a Canadian, but he's born in Ontario. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he's from the old country. No, that's Andy. Andy's from Italy, and he's got respect because he's a straight-laced logger his whole fucking life, and he never took any money, or he just decided to lie about it and became a little bit more crooked when we did a roof together. Yeah, we could do roofs together. Wouldn't that be nice, Andy? Or you could just give me some of my fucking money back, and we could start a roofing company. Jesus Christ, there's that somebody else's job, and he's the only one that's allowed to roof for my friends group because I was in English class with a young man once, and we got along just fine. Nothing's changed. I'm a good liar, but I don't lie to you. I have nothing to lie to you about. And you talked to me when I was at one side.